It comes to talk. Welcome to the stream. We'll be live on the air in a few minutes, and of course, we got a crisis going on right now. That the United States could be at war at any minute with Iran. We just don't know, right? President Trump just landed less than an hour ago in D.C., and he is, as we speak, at the White House, and very well could be in the Situation Room as we speak. And a lot of information's coming out about the mood of President Trump, what he's thinking. So we're going to cover that and take your calls. And of course, we'll be monitoring all the news as the show goes on, because we literally could be at war before the end of this live stream today with the way things are going right now in Washington. Or we could not be. We don't know. We got to monitor and see what Trump's talking about, because President Trump has said no ceasefire. He wants it over. So he wants it end. In fact, he told reporters, I'm going to show this when we go on the air. It's President Trump told reporters, now again, he landed around 5 a.m. Eastern time. And Katie Pavlich reported that President Trump told reporters on Air Force One, I'm not too much in the mood to negotiate. He wants an end, a real end, not a ceasefire, a real end is what he wants. So what does that mean? What does that mean exactly? And that's what we're going to be talking about, among other things. But mostly what we're going to be talking about today is Iran, the Iranian war. Yeah, it says real. This is Katie Pavlich is quoting Trump. Trump told reporters on Air Force One, I'm not too much in the mood to negotiate, adding he wants an end, a real end, not a ceasefire, a real end. Does that mean regime change? What does that mean? Yeah, REAL. What does that mean? Any ideas? What do you think that means? So that's a lot of what we're going to be covering on the show today and discussing. Now, and I've got something on Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin that I got to share too. No, I haven't heard anything about the Fort Knox. That kind of faded away. As far as I know, the Fort Knox thing never happened. Okay. Oh, man. I'm just checking some of my messages, guys. Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to lead with, of course, what's going on in Iraq. I mean, what do you guys suspect? What would be your guess? What would be your guess? Oh, that's a mistake. Okay. I'm just setting a couple things up here. If you're new, make sure that you subscribe. We'll be live on the air in just a couple of minutes. So, what do you guys think? Is Trump taking the United States into war with Iran on the side of Israel? What would be your guess? Because that's going to be the big question today. Exactly. We'll be on the air live in a couple of minutes. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Now, those of you that are new, I have 2 live streams when I'm on the air. The other one I'll be starting in a couple minutes. If you're watching on this stream here with the green screen behind me, you'll get to hear me and the callers perfectly, but the audio sound bites and videos and articles that I show and play and air, you have to hear those and see all of that. You've got to be on the other stream. preparedness. Just so you know. Who's the flip-flop streamer, Michael? Yeah, here's the question. Yes or no, do you think Trump is going to take us to war with Iran on the side of Israel? What do you guys think? Yes or no? Is Trump going to take us into the war with Iran on the side of Israel? Of course. Yeses, yeses. A lot of yeses, absolutely, yeah. Mostly yeses, by far. Well over 90% yeses. Yeah. We got about 30 seconds and we'll be live. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. And oh boy, we got a lot to cover. A lot is happening, and I do want to hear all of your thoughts about this. President Trump landed in Washington about an hour ago, around 5 a.m. Eastern. And we all saw the stories yesterday, and as I am speaking to you, if Trump is not in the Situation Room, he will be in shortly. And Katie Pavlich dropped something a little while ago. Let me read this to you. Katie, you guys know Katie Pavlich. She's on Fox News Channel. Katie Pavlich posting on X that President Trump told reporters on Air Force One the following, quote, "I'm not too much in the mood to negotiate," adding he wants an end, a real end, not a ceasefire, a real end, unquote, a real end. And of course, the president's talking about the situation with Iran. So here's the big question today. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. And it's a yes or no question. And our number, of course, if you don't know it, is 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. And here's the question. Is President Trump taking us to war against Iran on the side of Israel? Or is the United States officially going to end the war? You know, when I hear real end, is there a real end if the current Iranian regime is in power still? We know that Iran, the Islamic Republic with their current leadership that's been there since 1979, they back, fund, organize, and run almost all of the Islamic terrorism in the world, and they have since the 70s at least, right? since '79. They do. Well, I guess maybe since the '80s, but certainly now, including that horrific attack on Israel a couple years ago. We know that Iran has hit squads after the president, and they're going to continue to run those. That's not ending. So when I hear real end, not a ceasefire, a real end, that sounds like regime change, total annihilation. When you put on top of that President Trump told everyone to get out of Tehran yesterday. President Trump posted it on True Social yesterday. Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame and waste of human life. Simply stated. Then the next sentence President Trump wrote on True Social is 100% caps, all caps. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Iran. That was President Trump yesterday. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. I saw a video on X this morning that's impossible to know if it's real or not, but it looked real to me, of civilians evacuating Tehran. So the Situation Room is typically where presidents go. Well, it's that room where they had the cocaine outside during the Biden administration. But the Situation Room is the room typically where presidents go to watch military actions happen, right? We've seen this many times, the bin Laden raid, some of the Trump actions. So we've seen presidents in there before. Remember Hillary Clinton during the bin Laden raid looking terrified with a hand over her mouth? She was probably yawning, but the still photograph made it look like she was gasping, like a cowardly person. But this looks like it could very well be it. And it could happen while we're on the air this morning. I mean, if the president came back at 5 a.m. to Washington and heads to the Situation Room, something big is happening, okay? This isn't some phone call negotiation. That's a major military action that they're going to either discuss, plan, or watch happen. And they could be in the Situation Room planning an action with Israel. That action could involve or not involve us. It could be an action that's already been planned and set up that's going to happen, and he's going to be in the Situation Room watching it happen. The answers to these things we do not know. But I think if you were to put a bet on it, you would have to lean to the side that we're going to be going to war with Iran. It's so much of what's happening here. And I will say this. I will always back whatever President Trump decides on anything, okay? You're either with Trump or you're not. So while I am all for taking down the Islamic regime of Iran, I've been questioning since this began the timing of all of this. I've been questioning the intelligence that's been coming out of Israel. I don't trust any of the military or government intelligence from any agency, our own or those who are allied with us, okay? But if Trump gives the go, I'll go along with that. I will always follow Trump's lead. Trump has more knowledge and much more information than we have. And you either trust him or you don't. And I trust President Trump. And not only do I trust President Trump, I trust President Trump with my life. And I think most MAGA people are. With that being said, we don't know yet. Again, it could drop any time during the show. We don't know yet. But there has been, regardless of all of that, a lot of infomercial propagandizing from some, Fox News, some individuals in particular, Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, and others, to push us into not just supporting a war against Iran by Israel, but actually even joining in and being a part of it. And I'm not too appreciative of it. And Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, over the last couple of days, Ben Shapiro yesterday, Mark Levin the day before, or it might have been yesterday with his True Social post. I think they were both yesterday. both, and I'm going to share what Levin and Ben Shapiro said after the first break, but I don't trust these guys. They both were never Trumpers. I don't trust that either Mark Levin or Ben Shapiro are MAGA, especially Ben Shapiro. Okay, and the tactic that they took yesterday to try to get support for war with Iran, I do not appreciate, and I'll share it with you after the first break. However, you know, a lot of what's going on right now, one of the reasons I don't trust any of the intelligence, okay, that comes out of any of either our agencies or our allies. I mean, have people forgotten the buildup to the war in Iraq? I think people have forgotten about it, and it's in the media that's so owned by the military-industrial complex, and they don't report things and put things in context. But those of you who remember the buildup to the war in Iraq, remember when Colin Powell, who was Secretary of State at the time, went to the UN and made a case that they had weapons of mass destruction, and he put up this detailed PowerPoint presentation at the United Nations. It was a big deal. Colin Powell went to the it was all carried live, and he put this presentation showing about these different WMDs they had that were like the size of a grain of salt or a grain of sand that could kill an X number of people. And then I remember he was showing these diagrams of trucks that they had, the Iraqis, that they could unleash these weapons of mass destruction through these vehicles. It was a very long thing. He had this vial that he helped. Remember all of that? And it was all very convincing. And we all went along with it. And Colin Powell had respect of people. You know, he was a never Trumper later on in life, but he had a lot of respect from people for whatever reason, probably from Gulf War I. And people believed Colin Powell. And he had, I mean, the presentation that Colin Powell gave to the United Nations showing that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction was so detailed. They had imagery, they had photographs, they had documents, and he went through this entire very long presentation. Remember when he held up the vial on TV and said how many people this vial could kill? And Iraq had all this stuff. And we came to find out it was all lies. It was all lies. It was all manufactured. And, you know, that was a little more than 20 years ago. Was it 02 that he did that, or 03? But it doesn't seem all that long ago. As you get older, you know, you get more perspective on things. But I find it fascinating that no one in the mainstream media have made it, not only not making references to that, they haven't shown any of the video of Colin Powell making that case. And when I see them tell us over and over again that they had either they were a week away or days away from an operational nuke, my mind goes back to that Colin Powell incident. And he showed us a lot more than we've seen on this. And that's why I've been so reluctant about this. Now, with all that being said, if President Trump says, okay, they got a nuclear weapon, or they were a week away, whatever Trump says about it, I'm going to believe Trump because, you know, unlike these other people, I trust Trump. So if Trump says it's true, I will take it as reality and real. But I haven't heard him say that. He keeps saying what he said in this post yesterday, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. He doesn't say that they have one or that they're X number of days, weeks, or any time period away from having one. That's much different than saying, okay, they're a week away, a month away, 2 weeks away, days away, or that they have one. He says Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. That's a little different. But if he came out today and said they've got one or they're this far away from one, and because of that we're doing this, I would go along with that, because while I don't trust our intelligence agencies, I don't believe Netanyahu, and I am so annoyed with Ben Shapiro and just fed up with Mark Levin. I don't trust anything that comes out of either of their mouths. But I do trust Trump. And whatever Trump says, that is the reality. That's the real story, because he would not lie to us. All right, I'm going to take our first break. I'd like to hear your thoughts on all of this. Our number toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you're listening, 888-465-2631. I want to tell you guys, we are in hurricane season. We're in rainy season. And I think one of the most overlooked parts of hurricane prep is your roof. If you got a wet spot on your ceiling, you've got a leak in your roof, and you want to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. He's a good MAGA guy. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need. I have known people, and so many people are new to Florida, and they haven't been through a hurricane where they live. They don't understand hurricanes. See, I have no worries during hurricanes, right? I've got my hurricane glass. I've got the shutters too, because I don't want the glass doesn't break, but it cracks. So I got shutters to go over the glass. I got everything. I got my roof. I got my generator. I've got everything I need. But I have heard people say this. I've heard this mostly from new Floridians. I need a new roof, but if the hurricane takes it, the insurance company will pay for it. Yeah, if you're alive and if you have a house left. Are you kidding me? That's insane. I remember during Hurricane Andrew, Steve and I were on the air live during Hurricane Andrew. You've heard me mention that many times during hurricane season. And the radio station we were at was a bunker. It was totally concrete. It just had these little tiny windows like you'd have in a jail. Okay? And it was so safe. Steve was there with his whole family. His kids were little at the time. I was there. Al Knight, our weekend guy here at True Oldies, was there, and a handful of other people. And we invited everyone from the radio station to wait out the hurricane at the radio station. And we had this one guy, he was a salesman, he was a good guy, his name was Rick, and his elderly mother, who was around 90-ish at the time, lived down in Miami. And he's like, nope, I'm going to Miami, I'm going to stay with my mom. And we said, bring mom here. No, her house has been through so many hurricanes. The roof got torn off, and he and his mother were holding on to each other in a roofless house during Hurricane Andrew, huddled in the bathroom. And it was very dangerous, very traumatic, and it destroyed the house. You call Tom Laporta, you get that leak taken care of, you got no worries. Your roof's going to get through that storm. Because that loose tile or shingle is an entryway for the wind. So give Tom Laporta a call. This number rings directly to his cell phone, 954-604-4602, 954-604-4602. That's 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaRoofing.com. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there, guys. I'm reading some of the president's posts on True Social, which are very interesting this morning. I'm going to go through some of them when we get back. Let me pull them up. I'm going to go through some of the president's True Social posts over the last 12 hours or so when we get back. We'll be back in about 90 seconds. Yeah, if you are looking for the toll-free number, it is pinned in the live chat. Less than a minute. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. Just to catch up, President Trump landed in Washington about 5 a.m. this morning, went directly to the White House, of course, and as we speak, he is believed to be in the Situation Room. So the question, if you're on hold, hang in there. The question is President Trump taking us to war on the side of Israel against Iran? Is there a military action that's already been set up that he is in the Situation Room to watch and oversee? Or is he in the Situation Room planning a major military action? I'm going to go through some of the president's posts on True Social over the last, day about this. And they're very interesting and telling and give you a real pulse as to where his mind is at right now. But I do want to tell you guys, on yesterday's show, just listening online, okay, just online during on our different online streams and platforms, because we're in a lot of places online. This is not including the radio station, but just online yesterday's program, we had just under 100,000 people tuned in, just to let you guys know, just under 100,000. That's not a record. That's not even close. But that's a lot of people watching at the same time during the live show yesterday, mind you. And I was, I'm grateful to all of you. Thanks so much. Isn't that something? That does not include the radio stations that we're on. That was just online. I know, it's pretty amazing, isn't it? Yep. All right. So let's get back to this. Now, since the war began, a lot of MAGA people have been very much against the war. I've been questioning the timing and the intelligence, but like I say, I'm basing my thoughts on what I'm hearing from the president. Once President Trump says they got the weapon, or their X number of days or weeks or whatever time he gives from the weapon, I'm going to accept whatever Trump says is the gospel, because he is very truthful. He's never lied to us, and I trust the guy, and I think most MAGA people do. But a lot of people, Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, and others have been saying that they believe Benny Johnson, others, that it's propaganda, okay? And also, there's been a lot of talk by a lot of MAGA people that America First means no wars, we don't get involved in wars. You've heard all this stuff, right? Since the war began between Israel and Iran. This is President Trump yesterday on True Social. Now, this is President Trump. This is a quote of the president. America First means many great things, including the fact that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Make America great again. It's a pretty powerful statement. He posted, let's see here. I wanted to pull up one. This one was very, very interesting. Let me pull this one up. Okay, now President Trump, he posted this. Let me pull this up. Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame and waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. So what does that mean? When President Trump says everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran, he comes back from Canada early, and he's in the Situation Room. What does that mean? It can only mean one thing: a major military action against Iran. It's got to mean that. Now, in the past, when, Americans always hate on whoever the Republican. Call is on hold. You hang in there. We'll get to some calls in a bit, but we got to get some things out. I do want to hear your thoughts on all of that I'm bringing up today involving this. When the Iraq War and I'm talking about Gulf War II and the war in Afghanistan, there was a lot of opposition from the left, especially the Iraq War. Okay. And I remember liberals at the time, they were very vocal and opposed to it. Now, they were in broken clock mode, meaning they said there were no WMDs. They were right, but not because they knew anything. I mean, if you oppose a Republican every time they utter a syllable, eventually you're going to hit on something you were right about, right? But I remember when we were building up to a military action against Iraq, before it actually happened, what every liberal said, elected Democrats, as well as the leftist media said, okay, we are opposed to this. However, once the war begins, we'll stop. In fact, they would say, they were very specific. They said when boots are on the ground, when the military action happens, when American service personnel are in harm's way, the anti-war in Iraq discussion will stop because we're going to support our military. Now, that was 22 years ago. What do you think is going to happen if President Trump goes to war with Iran? Do you think that the left will take the high ground and support our troops? Look at how disrespectful they were to our troops over the parade. I don't think they'll change a beat. I don't think they'll change a beat at all. Now, that first segment I went long in, so this is going to be a short segment. Callers on hold, you stand by. We're going to take our break for the bottom of the hour so we can get back on schedule. And I'm going to share what I is really annoying to me. I don't like what they're doing at all. Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin are trying to do some psych op on MAGA people in this country. And I want to get into that as well because I don't appreciate it at all. And it doesn't help that I don't like either of these two guys. But I'm going to share all that with you and much more. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. My name is Brian Craig. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. We'll be right back. Wait a second. Okay. And if you're on hold, hang in there. I'll get to the phones. Okay, got some updates here. All right. Okay, we got some updates. We'll be back in about a minute. I don't know what's funny SFjr nights. I mean, there's, people are dying. I don't know why you would laugh. What are you, a mental patient? What's wrong with you? I'm just an immature moron. I'll be back in a few seconds. Welcome back, everyone. We've got some major updates, which I'm going to jump right into. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show. If you're just tuning in, you've missed a lot. Callers on hold, stand by. I got some major updates we've got to share. What we're talking about is what's happening right now with U.S. involvement in Iran. The president, came back from Canada early. He landed around 5 a.m. this morning, went to the White House, went to the Situation Room. So the Situation Room is either where you plan military action, watch military action, or coordinate with another country involving military action. So we have a bit of an informal press conference that the president had on Air Force One on the way back to Washington. This is just about, 90 minutes ago. I'm not into, thing about negotiate. We've been negotiating with Iran since I was a kid. I mean, it's never since I was in third grade. I tell you about this when they took the hostages. There's no, they use negotiation as a way to play you. They never intend on making any deals. Okay, the Iranians are the Iranian leadership is insane. I said yesterday to Steve, I said they are Satan on earth, no doubt about it. President Trump gave them 60 days. They didn't do it. Iran attacked on day 61. Okay, Israel attacked on day 61. So, if you haven't been able to negotiate for almost half a century, think about that. It's been over 40 years. What's going to come out of a negotiation right now? Again, this is the president on Air Force One this morning on the way back to D.C. Well, who did he say? Okay, that sounds like the voice of that idiot from CNN, Caitlin Collins. She said Tulsi Gabbard said they're not close. Trump said, I don't care what she said, they were close. So let me play it again. President Trump said, I think they were very close to having one. Okay, so that's the first time we've heard that I know of since this conflict has begun. The first time we've heard of a timetable come from President Trump. And notice Caitlin Collins at CNN, all she cares about is trying to cause division inside MAGA. See, this is what I'm starting to realize about this. Because, there's a big tone change with President Trump here. Big tone change. And I'm monitoring everything live here on the air. So if something happens, I will share it with you, okay? I'm monitoring everything as I'm speaking. We're in a different space now than we were 24 hours ago because something is happening. Something is happening. When that television station, I've got more from the president, which I'll play in a moment. When that Iranian television station got hit live on the air yesterday, right then you knew something big was coming. That was not random. It was not accidental. The reason they hit that television station is to take out communications for the Iranians. Okay, here is another clip. This is the president this morning on Air Force One on the way back to Washington. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now this is amazing, isn't it? So he's give up, an end, not a ceasefire. How do you have an end to anything with Iran involving Israel and this nuclear program other than 100% regime change? And these aren't guys that are going to fly off to Paris and set themselves up in retirement. I mean, these are martyrs, right? Call is on hold, stand by. Okay, now this is, again, the president on Air Force One this morning. Yeah, and, Laura Loomer, she made a good point because there's a lot of people saying that going to war with Iran is not America first, right? Backing Israel in their war is not America first. And Laura Loomer, she said, America first is whatever Trump says it is. I agree with that. Let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Oh, hold on. I'm choking, guys. Well, let me have a drink of my coffee. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Joellen from Fort Lauderdale.
Hey, Joellen, I'm choking, but that's okay. You can talk. Sorry about that. Okay. I'm recovering.
I was listening to Tucker and Steve Bannon yesterday. I don't know if you heard that.
I did. I covered that on my podcast last night, which you should be listening to, Joellen.
So your thoughts? I mean, because it really makes me think that whether maybe we shouldn't be getting into this war.
Well, this is what it makes me think. As this goes on, okay? Because not only did I watch the war, Bannon had Tucker on the War Room, and then Tucker had Bannon on his show. And they're very much opposed to this and everything else. And I have said, and I'll tell you my thoughts on it, but I have said since this started that once Trump gets us in, that's it. I'm always going to follow Trump, and he knows better than I, and I trust him at his word. And so we're in a different place now than we were yesterday. And I just think that Tucker and Bannon are not as in as they think they should be. In fact, in Canada yesterday, President Trump took a swipe at Tucker. Did you see it? Oh, I got my lines mixed up there. So I lost which line you're on, Joel, and I'll go back to the phones and maybe pick you up. But they asked him about, President Trump was asked yesterday about what Tucker said to Bannon about the war. And President Trump said Tucker should get a TV network so people can hear what he's saying. So he took a jab at him. So President Trump totally took Tucker down just like that. So there you have it. That's totally different. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, we'll try it here. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
President Trump has asked yesterday.
Hi, yes. So.
Oh yeah, Joellen, I'm sorry. I lost track of what line you were on during my choking. But I'll repeat what I said. I'll repeat what I said since I recovered
I
from
heard on the radio what you said.
Okay.
I heard on the radio what you said.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I know you're saying about Tucker and Bannon, maybe they're not in but what they're saying, though, is, you know, with Mark Levin and all these other people, Sean Hannity, you know, wanting to convince him to go ahead with this.
Well,
So,
this is the thing.
I like Mark Levin.
Israel, without a doubt, I've been talking about this for 2 weeks, about Tim Pool spilled the beans because he couldn't help but brag, you know, that he was involved in this Israel event that was secret with internet influencers like himself, and Netanyahu was there selling them war with Iran, okay? And so what I think Israel made a big mistake in this war. They brought in Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro to be the spokespeople to sell it to America. Israel thinks they don't understand. Most MAGA people I know do not like Ben Shapiro. Okay, he's a hardcore never Trumper. He pretends to like Trump. People don't like him. He's annoying. He talks as fast as an auctioneer. Israel obviously has reached out to Ben Shapiro to be a spokesperson for the war. Mark Levin as well. And MAGA people don't trust former Never Trumpers or Fox News. And Israel made a mistake in making Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro especially their spokespeople for this war. And my guess is, we don't know for sure, but I imagine Shapiro and Levin were brought into the inner circle like Tim Pool and those influencers were by Israel. And they made it sounds ridiculous, but they made a marketing mistake, trying to sell the war with people that a lot of MAGA people don't like.
Okay.
I mean, like Subway. I'll give you an example. Subway's in trouble financially, right? It's never been the same since Jared from Subway went away to prison for what he did. When he gets out of prison, if Subway hired back Jared from Subway to be a spokesperson, that would be a bad idea. You know, when people are not liked or are tainted, you don't hire them to be your spokespeople. And Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro are well-known never-Trumpers. And I also think there's a lot of conservatives that don't trust them because they're Jews. Because they figure, well, they're Jews, so they're going to support Israel no matter what. They're loyal to Israel, not America, because they're Jews. I don't subscribe to that. I just think they're both pompous, self-important jerks. But they should not have made Ben Shapiro their voice. That didn't help.
You know what? You know what else I heard was Matt Walsh. I mean, they got rid of him, I guess, because he was with Netanyahu.
Who got rid of him? Who got rid of Matt Walsh?
Well, I think that's why they got rid of him in that position. Well, I think the Trump administration.
Oh, over this? I mean, oh no, I don't know. I don't know. We don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things we don't know. But I think what we can say now is President Trump is in favor of the war. He didn't fly back at 5 a.m. from Canada and go right to the Situation Room because he doesn't support the war, and you can tell by the things he's saying. So it doesn't matter what Tucker and Steve Bannon say. Whatever it doesn't matter because Trump is telling us, and Trump is now getting specific. So if you're MAGA, you're with Trump, or you're not. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you're either with Trump or you're not.
Well, I love Trump. I love Trump, but at the same time, you know, there's probably a lot of pressure in what's going on, and I just.
What are you saying? You're saying that Trump.
I know he's his own man, and he can hold his own and everything. I know that, but I just it just
see. This is the war room. This is the war room. Okay, that happened. The war room is Steve Bannon's show. Okay, I can tell you watched it. Yeah. And basically I watched it and I covered it on my podcast last night, but that was before all this happened. Okay. Including the swipe that President Trump took at Tucker yesterday after it.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah. He said Tucker. He was asked by President Trump was asked by a reporter in Canada yesterday. I might pull it up and play it later. His thoughts on what Tucker said to Bannon, and he says maybe I don't know what he said, but maybe he took a swipe. He said maybe he should get a network so people can hear him. You know, I mean, he really put him down. So what Tucker is implying, yeah, I know, huh? What Tucker's implying is that Trump is controlled by the military-industrial complex, warmongers, and Jews. That's how I take it.
Well, he says he loves Trump, he supports him, and he wants to at least get his ear. It sounds like he wants to get his ear and really talk to him.
Well, it doesn't look like it. That's not the way to do it. I don't think Trump buckles to anyone's pressure. I think he gets all the information and makes a decision. And at this point, I think the debate is over. You can tell by the president. He just said on Air Force One, like less than 2 hours ago, they were very close to the bomb. He doesn't support a ceasefire. Everyone should get out of Tehran. Something big is happening. And he's in the Situation Room.
Yeah.
So he is in favor of the war with Iran. And if you're MAGA, you should be too.
And the regime change too, I guess. Mm-hmm. That's what they want.
That's right.
But you know how that happens. You know what happens with that? You know, everybody like Obama.
Don't base listen. There's a positive. Regime changes have worked. Germany and Japan. You know, Japan at the end of World War II, they had a bizarre shogun-like theocracy between the military and the emperor, who they thought was a deity. Look at that. Look what we did there. Germany, you know, and you may remember there was regime change right here in 1776 when we had regime change and removed the king. So regime, you know, I looking back, the reason the regime change wasn't successful with an insurgency in Iraq, I think, is because that's how Bush and Cheney wanted it, to prolong the war.
Yeah.
All right, Joel, and I'm very late for the break, but I appreciate the call. All right, take care. Callers on hold, stand by. We'll take our break and be back. Yeah. If you're on hold, hang in there. I know I couldn't have the coughing fit during the break, huh? If you're new to the program, make sure you subscribe, and you're all welcome to call in, regardless of your opinion. There's one opening on the board. We'll be back in less than a minute. No, we're in a different place today. We're in a different place today than we were 2 hours ago. Trump's in favor of it. I'm in favor, and you should be too. If you're on hold, hang in there. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm just going to go to the phones. No recapping right now. We'll recap as the discussion continues. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Jay from Jersey.
Yes, Jay.
Wow, this is a real.
What's so funny? People are dying and you're laughing. I don't see what's funny. There's people dying in the world.
Well, listen, you're telling people we're going to war. Hold on, let me turn you off. You're telling people, yeah, we're getting behind Trump. Let's go to war with Israel. What would you say to that?
No, I didn't say that. We're not going to go to war with Israel. It looks as if we're joining Israel against Iran. What you said is we're going to war with Israel. No, we're not. Israel is our ally in this. You okay?
Did you hear what Trump said last night?
He said everybody should get out of Tehran.
People to get out of there.
Yeah, Tehran.
Listen to this. Are them two crazy fools crazy enough to try to bomb an atom bomb? Are they crazy enough
They didn't
to
say,
a bomb?
President Trump didn't say they had an atom bomb. He says they were close.
Listen. They've been close since Bush was in office. They was close when Clinton was in office. They was close when Obama was in office. They was close when this was fool was in
Well,
office.
now they really now because
You can't
this
be
is
close over 20 years.
well, hold on. But now they really are because Trump told us they were.
They're not close. Well, listen to this though. We had a grip over them, and he ended the grip that we had over them. That
What
they
grip?
To make an atom bomb,
What grip?
And he dropped the treaty that we had with them.
What grip did we have on Iran?
We had a treaty with them, and we were watching them, and we were monitoring them.
Yeah, but they're liars. They are liars. They're liars.
But he got rid of the agreement. We were watching them.
They are liars. They don't live up to their agreements, and they have assassination squads against Trump.
But why should we go to war?
This is not. We're not. Listen. We're not. We're not going to war here like the Second World War. There has not been since the Second World War, the conflicts that the United States has been in were never meant to be in and out. They were meant to be prolonged. Vietnam, 10 years. Afghanistan, 20. How many years was Iraq? Years. They drug these wars out. We have weapons that can end these things on a dime that are non-nuclear. Conventional weapons, so strong, so powerful, they could end everything on a dime. And they're never used because Bush and these people never want to end the wars.
Wait a minute. What you're not realizing and what you're not saying is they already have a bomb.
No, they're close. No, they're close.
No, they were close.
He said close.
Years ago.
Well, 20 years ago, we were being lied to. What President Trump says, I believe. Because I always believe Trump. He's never lied to us. And he has historically been.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Sorry.
How did you like the fact that Trump sat there at that parade and looked stupid?
No, we're not. First off, that's not true, and we're not talking about that. If you're on hold, hang in there. I want to tell you guys about the doorbell camera offer from Sloman's. You get a free doorbell camera that connects directly to your cell phone with the installation of your Sloman Shield. And I got to tell you, I got a big problem in my neighborhood, a big one, and it's the door-to-door salesman. Any of you guys have that in your neighborhood? Oh my goodness. Every day, it's non-stop. And because of the doorbell camera, well, they never catch me. I don't have to worry about it because I see them coming, okay? And these guys are smart. This guy yesterday came to my door to sell something or other, and he was dressed in an outfit, like a uniform. He looked like, from far away, he looked like a FedEx truck driver. And sometimes you get something from FedEx, and he got a sign for it. He even had a thing in his hand. His shirt almost looked like a FedEx shirt, and had a thing in his hand that looked like what they would, kind of like what they would carry to have you sign. But I could see him on that doorbell camera, and he didn't catch me. I didn't open the door. He was selling, because the camera's so good, when you can see what's on the shirts. He was with an extermination company trying to sell me. He was going to try to sell me an exterminator service, which I already have with somebody I've been working with for years and years and years. That doorbell camera saves me from these door-to-door salesmen. I'll tell you, it's great. You can get one for free with the installation of your Sloman Shield. You also get an LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts, a lifetime warranty, and a backup battery. Plus, you'll get a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Sloman Shield. Give them a call, 833-283-5050, 833-283-5050. That's 833-283-5050. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Renee from Harlem.
Hey, Renee.
You need better music on your hold, man. That music is terrible. But the reason I called is because, you, Lion Brian the Bigot, and Stupid Steve are falling. I just know Putin and Netanyahu love Trump because he'll do anything they want. And that is really sad that Americans are going to be dragged into another war for nothing.
Well, hold on. Now, when you say that, what do you mean? When you say dragged into a war, what exactly do you mean? Dragged into how? Can you be specific?
Slide into another conflict. Iran is not going to go down easy.
What makes you say that? I have seen such a pathetic response to how many days of attacks by Israel? Weak responses.
It just started. And if I was Iran, despite the fact that they don't want to build a nuke, I would nuke up as soon as possible, and I would light nuclear Israel up as soon as possible.
Yeah, you would do that on any given Tuesday. You hate Jews. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. It's Vanessa in Pensacola.
Hey, Vanessa.
Hi. What's Lindsey Zelensky Graham calling for us to fly warplanes with Israel? I get supporting Israel, but he's all about going all in, and I'm tired of it.
Well, I don't know. I don't care about Lindsey Graham. I care about Trump. And Trump looks like he's gearing up for something big in Iran. If Trump authorizes that and does it, would you support it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But not Lindsey.
Well, Lindsey Graham is not the president. He doesn't make the call. The president does. So if President Trump...
Thank God.
President Trump told everyone yesterday, get out of Iran. Get out of Tehran, the capital. Get out of Tehran. That means something big is coming militarily, right?
Yes, and whatever Trump says. I'm tired of... Well, you know what I'm saying, but God bless Trump, God bless America.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to Tucker or Bannon or Lindsey Graham or any of whatever Trump says. That is that as Laura Loomer said, America first is whatever Trump says it is.
You're right. Yes, she's right. Thank you.
All right, take care. All right. If you're on hold, hang in there. We're coming up on our top of the hour break. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Your calls are certainly welcome, whatever your position is on this. Our number is toll free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. We'll take our break for the top of the hour and be right back. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. I need to gargle with some salt water, but I don't think I have time. Let me see. Yes, that's water you're hearing. Fine. Yeah. Okay. I don't usually do that with a mic on, but people talk about honey. Warm salt water is the best. I have to do it some more during the next break. All right, you guys. The salt water to the back of the throat, but I need more. Next break, I'll finish. I don't have time to rinse. I got to be on the air in 10 seconds. That helped a little bit, but I got to do it more. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. Callers on hold, stand by. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. Major developments going on with Iran. Let me take a call or two, and then I'll do the recapping. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Jeff from Maine.
Hey, Jeff. How are you?
Good. You know, I didn't care for what Tucker said from the get-go with Steve Bannon, but I agree with him, 95% of the time. But like you said, when Trump said something back about Tucker, I realized he must have gone over the edge somehow, because Israel can I just say this? Israel knows that when they get the nuke, that they said they're going to wipe them off the face of the planet, correct?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And what's worse than that, I believe Iran is going to wait till they have several before they shoot them, because they'll shoot a couple off at us.
Well, we don't know. All we know is, this is what we know. President Trump says he said this on Air Force One 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
They were very close. And then he went into the situation. Then he said, get out of, everyone evacuate Tehran, Iran's capital. Everyone evacuate. Then he says they were very close, and now he's in the Situation Room. So either a military action is being planned or is about to happen.
Correct. And I don't remember the news channel, but it was somebody that was, Middle East expert, said they were so many days from enriching enough for one. And then he went on a timeline in 8 days, 10 or something, how they could double, triple the enrichment to get more. Mm-hmm. And that it was so close that Israel had to act. And I believe that's why Trump didn't say anything against Israel, because he knows what they know. And I agree with you, Brian, that Trump knows way more than what even probably the top people in our government know how bad it was.
Yeah. What I've been saying from the beginning, that, Trump hadn't really been specific. But if Trump gets specific and backs up what Israel has been saying, that's another ball game. And that's happened now.
That's right. And I believe what Israel's doing is preventing a nuclear war from starting. Because once one starts, it could be a domino effect. So it's an important thing to prevent Iran.
See, what people forget, as you go through things, when it comes to Islamic terrorism, it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even into the early 2000s. It was Libya with Gaddafi, Iraq. Yep. Iraq with Saddam Hussein, and Iran. Well, we don't have problems with Iraq or Libya anymore. And those problems were very regular, okay? Very regular. And, Iraq, they were always moving carrier groups into the Persian Gulf and all this stuff. And once they did the regime change, you don't hear from either of those countries anymore. But Iran has always been there. They murdered all those athletes at the Olympics. The Israeli athletes, they've been behind all the Islamic terror. They were behind the attacks on Israel at the music festival. They've been on behind attacks against us. We all know this. So Trump's tired of it.
Yep. And you know, the first attack of terrorism on the military was October '83, the Beirut bombing of the Marine barracks.
That's right, and that was
President Reagan even said that was President Reagan said that was his biggest military blunder. And since that day, I believe America's been under attack by Islamic-controlled regimes, and that's our number one priority. Is those regimes would wipe out Israel and America if we don't prevent it.
Exactly. And it looks like, you know, Trump just took this Middle Eastern trip. I promise you that trip had a lot to do with this.
Yes.
And he told them that he gave them 60 days. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, Israel attacked first. Well, that depends on when you start. I mean, it seems to me that Iran's been attacking since 1979 when they took our embassy.
How many tunnels did they blow up after October 7th of people, of terrorists running into, Israel and doing attacks?
Exactly.
And how much more had they, and how many more had they had planned?
Mm-hmm.
So this is in response, in defense of their nation and
That's
people.
right.
They are attacking Israeli civilians.
Mm-hmm.
Israel is attacking military capability and
well, the TV station. I appreciate the call, Jeff. Good points. I agree. You know, the TV station attack yesterday. That's civilian, although it's state-controlled TV. But that attack on the TV station yesterday was not a rogue rocket. It was. I think they targeted it because they want to take out the ability for them to communicate over there, as something bigger is coming. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air.
Brian, this is Rod from Coconut Creek.
Rod in Coconut Creek. What's on your mind?
Hey, buddy. Listen, I want people to remember real quick that Iran had ships off the coast of Florida, and they were delivering missiles to Venezuela and Nicaragua.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Trump was sworn in. Yeah, when Trump was sworn in, if you remember, anybody that messes with the United States, he's going to wipe them off the face of the earth.
No, that's true. They were doing naval maneuvers regularly with Venezuela.
Yeah, and evidently those missiles are gone from Venezuela and Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody in Florida, we could have been hit in 15 minutes with those supersonic or hypersonic missiles.
Yeah.
That was in the paper, but people forget about.
Well,
that.
listen, this is where we are. Okay, I'm going to play the audio again in a few after the break. But President Trump is now behind this, and he didn't fly back from Canada early and land at 5 a.m. and go straight to the Situation Room just to have a regular powwow. There's something going on, I'm assuming we're going to find out today because he says it's bigger than anything predicted. So what that is, who knows?
Those bombers, they take off from Missouri, and they can fly straight there, drop their load, and turn around and come back.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done that before, so I don't know what's going to happen. But this country owes President Trump. We owe him our lives because he stopped this shit.
All right. First dump of the day, Mike. Oh, my goodness. But, you know, while we're waiting for the delay to re-engage, let me talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas. You know, Jupiter Joe Thomas has for over 30 years been in the retirement planning business, okay? So he's seen everything, really. He has. He's also a 5-time qualifying member of the $1 Million Roundtable, which is achieved by less than 1% of all financial advisors in the world. So he's a top man in the industry, and he's offering you a free phone consultation. Give him a call. Talk to him about annuities. I mean, look, here we are on the verge of a war. Who knows what that'll do to the markets? Up, down, side, who knows, right? You talk about a Middle Eastern war, Middle Eastern conflict, you know, slows down. Who knows what happens? But I know this. If you're in business with Joe Thomas and you have annuities, whatever happens in the economy, you are going to be fine because your nest egg in that annuity will be safe. And you'll be generating income for the rest of your life in your retirement. Give them a call, and you can take advantage of this no-charge consultation no matter where you are located in the United States. 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. That's 561-743-0999. And online, JupiterJoe.com. You can find his number there, JupiterJoe.com. All right, the delay is re-engaged. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. This is Vielka from Central Florida.
Hey, what's up?
Or VV from Central Florida.
Okay, what's up?
So I was listening to Sid Roth, and he had two gentlemen on his broadcasting, and they were talking about the same thing that you were saying, that Iran for many years were saying that they had the nuclear bomb and everything like that. What's happening is they didn't have enough uranium to complete the atomic
and what
bomb.
happened? Let me guess. This will be let me guess. Hillary Clinton gave them the uranium when she was Secretary of State to finish.
No, I don't remember what they said, but it wasn't Hillary.
Okay.
But that recently they obtained the uranium and that they were moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to share
Well,
that.
listen, this is what I know. For the first time this morning, President Trump firmly said they were close on his way to the Situation Room. So that's it. That's the first time during this conflict we've heard a time frame from him. And that's what I'm going with. Well, all this other talk, Tucker and this person and that person, it's all noise to me. I care about what he thinks. That's the one I go by. Not with these. He's the one that we know knows and that we know that we can trust.
I agree.
All right, take care. Appreciate the call. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian Levitt. I'm calling
Okay,
from
yeah, I'm sure. Oh, my goodness. All right, listen, we're going to take our first break of the hour. We'll be right back. Hello, you're on the air.
Good morning, conservative.
Hey, Doug, hold on. Hello, you're on the air. Hello? Yeah. What's your name?
Hey.
Hold on. Unbelievable. All right, we're back. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. Callers on hold, hang in there. Okay, so I do want to recap and play a couple of clips of President Trump. We are in a new place today than we were yesterday, okay? And President Trump landed at around 5 a.m. this morning at Andrews, went right to the Situation Room at the White House. Now, this was after yesterday, late in the day, he told everyone in Tehran to get out of Tehran. So then we knew something big was coming. We knew he was coming home early, but for him to come home and land at 5 a.m. and go to the Situation Room, something is either happening or being planned, and something big, okay? We know this. And on the way back, this was around 4 a.m. this morning on Air Force One. The president had a bit of a press conference, and I got a couple clips. I played them in the first hour. I want to play them for you now. Listen. Okay, the reporter asked, are you open to negotiating with the Iranians? Okay, so he just said no negotiations. He's done with negotiations, which are useless. We've been negotiating with them, for 45 years, and nothing has become of that. This is the same press conference. This is like 4:30 this morning on Air Force One. Oh, this sounds like Caitlin Collins from CNN. Okay, President Trump. Now, this is the first time during these recent, during the conflict, we've heard him give us a timeline. President Trump just said, I think they were very close to having one. Okay, so that's it. That's it. That's it. It's real now, at least to me. Okay, I may not trust the intelligence agencies, but I do trust President Trump. Okay, now that's huge what he just said. This again, President Trump's press conference on Air Force One about 4:30 this morning, and they asked him for the end. He said, no ceasefire, a real end, a real win, or they could just give up, which means surrender. So what he means is that the Ayatollah, the Islamic Republic leadership of Iran, the supreme leader, can surrender and resign, or there'll be a real end, a real end. That's it. Okay, here's the last one. Okay, that's it. So, as you know, I was telling, if you're on hold, we'll go to the phones in a moment. So here we are. This debate on whether or not they were close is over because the president said very close to having one. Okay, so that's official. And it looks like major military action is coming. So the time for debate is over. Any day of the week, once U.S. assets are in harm's way, debate ends in this country historically. Now, Democrats are classless and have no common sense or basic sense of dignity and right and wrong and integrity. Democrats don't have any good qualities about them, so they may not be able to contain themselves. And we may see Ilhan Omar and others in tears when this happens. but something big is happening, and very well could be involving U.S. military forces. We don't know. It could, it could happen during this program this morning. That's where we are. So this debate as to whether or not they have a nuke or we're close to it, that's over. President Trump said they were very, very close. Said he's very twice. That means they were close. That's a fact. Trump never lies to us. He's always been 100% honest with us. We also know that he gave them two options. He said no negotiations, a real end, or just give up, which means surrender. That also says support, if not even taking part in military action, to remove the Iranian regime, right? So that's it. So the Tucker debate, the debate I was having yesterday with Steve and some of the callers over the last few days and a week, however long we've been doing this, that's over. We're in a new place today, which I told you from the beginning. Once Trump comes out and says something different, I'm going to be right there, and I am. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Dennis.
Yeah. Our number is 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. You guys on hold, hang in there. We'll get to some of these calls in a bit. But I do want to tell you about a big announcement. Oops, sorry about that. I'm pulling up my laptop because I just got this email. We got a big announcement from Coastal Weight Loss Secret. This is huge announcement from Coastal Weight Loss Secret, so listen up. Now, you guys have been hearing me talk for a little while now about all this great weight that I've lost. I look great. I feel great. I lost about a pound a day. My target weight was 25 pounds, and I went way beyond that. Right now, I'm in the maintain phase because I'm at the weight I was when I got married. 29 years ago in December, I got married. I'm at that weight now. My stomach's flat. I don't have a belly anymore. I got my square jaw, got my chin back, got my neck back. I'm looking great. I'm feeling great. And I did it without exercising, without prescription medications. That's right. And eating foods I would normally eat. Listen to this. Coastal Weight Loss Secret is launching their first ever July 4th sale. Now, this is for new clients only. And you're going to get 20% off the program if you're a good candidate for the program. So hurry up. This offer expires Monday, July 7th. Okay? So, yes, I mean, that's an amazing deal. So give them a call. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlosssecret.com. Pretty good deal, huh? Okay, so another thing we know about President Trump is this, okay? A couple things about him involving the military and military action. He has historically been against war, but when he uses military action, he doesn't mess around because he wants it to end as fast as possible. These other presidents we have had don't want things to end fast. They want to drag it out. I was talking about the length. We were in Vietnam for a decade, right? More, really, if you think about it. But the hardcore escalation, okay, with Johnson and Nixon and everything, that war was fought to have a prolonged conflict to feed the military-industrial complex. Same with the war on terror. President Trump, remember how quick he took out ISIS? Remember ISIS was putting in their own tax system in some of the areas they were controlling? And he got Raising Cane together and took them out like that, quickly. Boom, they were gone. And he told the story many times in the rally about how they wouldn't let Raising Cane do what he had to do. And he took them out quick. So if President Trump is on board, and it certainly looks like he is, with military action against Iran, it will be quick. They will, we have major weapons that are conventional weapons, non-nuclear, that have never been used. Not just bunker bombs, other big things that can end these things on a dime. And that's what Trump's talking about. Trump's not playing around. Now, we're going to take our break for the bottom of the hour. We'll come back. We'll take some more calls. We'll do some recapping because so much is happening. And I am monitoring all of the events. So if there are new developments, I will share them with you immediately on the program. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 465-2631. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. My name is Brian Craig. We'll be right back. Hey, what's going on? Okay, I'll put you on hold for a minute. I'll be right with you. Hold on. Steve, you there? Steve. Ugh. Steve, you there?
I'm here.
All right, stand by. We got a little time left. I'll do a recap when we get back.
Get at it. In the middle.
Okay, we got about a minute.
Okay. Coffee, someone? Okay.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here. And
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Steve. I want to do a recap because we're in a different world than we were yesterday, okay?
Okay.
The whole world has changed in about 12 hours, okay? President Trump yesterday, it started, hold on, it started late in the day yesterday. President Trump sent out a message from Canada telling everyone in Tehran to get out. I mean, you know, that was the beginning, okay? Get out of Tehran, which means something big is happening. And I'm sure, have you seen the bombing of the TV station?
Yes, several times.
Okay, now they took, that was not a rogue rocket. They took out the TV station on purpose to knock out a line of communication for the Iranians.
Was that nice lady killed, by the way, the one I was seeing the clip over and over again?
I hope not. I'm sure she's crazy and everything, but she looks scared to death. I saw her get up from her desk and walk away.
Yeah.
So anyway, Trump told everyone yesterday, get out of Tehran. And I saw video, which I'm not 100% sure was out of Tehran, but it looked like at night, last night, a lot of cars heading out of Tehran. Okay, I saw it online. I saw it on television. And then they said President Trump was going to leave the G7 in Canada early. Not only did he leave early, he landed in Washington at 5 a.m. this morning, got in the Beast, and went straight to the Situation Room at the White House. So he did not land at 5 a.m. and go to the Situation Room before 6 a.m., leaving this G7 early for nothing. Either a military action is going on for him to observe and oversee, or there's planning of an upcoming major military action. On the way back to Washington at around 4:30 a.m. this morning, President Trump had a press conference at about 4 a.m., maybe the earliest press conference in the history of the presidency of the United States. And he told reporters a few things. He said, they asked him if he was up to a ceasefire negotiation. He said no. He said no. He wants a real end to this. He says that they either can have a real end or give up, which means surrender. So then they asked about Caitlin Collins from CNN. This is like 4 a.m., right? Caitlin Collins from CNN asked President Trump, was Iran close to having a nuclear weapon? He says, yes, very close. Caitlin Collins said, in March, Tulsi Gabbard said they weren't close. And Trump said, I don't care what she said, they were very, very close. Okay, so we got a whole bunch of information there, right? And that is a confirmation. Yeah, sure. We got a confirmation that we can believe from President Trump that they were very, very close to the weapon, right? Because I was telling you yesterday, I don't trust these intelligence agencies, but if Trump comes out, I'll trust Trump. He went to the Situation Room at 5 in the morning. You don't go to the Situation Room at 5 a.m. unless something big is going on. So there's something big happening. And whatever it is, we're going to be a part of it. So we are at the point now where the debate on whether or not the war is just, were they close, were they this close, did they have all that, it's time for that to be over. If you're MAGA, okay? Liberals got no sense or common decency, so, you know, they'll never stop. But people that are conservative, that are MAGA, Tucker Carlson and Charlie Kirk and Benny Johnson.
Tucker Carlson's on the outside from what I've been reading yesterday.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk, Benny Johnson, Tucker Carlson, and Steve Bannon all have been very vocally against any U.S. action. They're saying, America first, America first. And the reality of the situation is, America first is whatever Trump says it is, in my opinion. We have confirmation that they were finally, confirmation that I can believe. President Trump himself said they were very, very close. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. They were very, very close. And they can either surrender or we're going to have a real end. A real end. He said it a couple times, real end. So real end either means take them all out or they surrender. That's what he said. So we're in a new place today, Steve. There's no more debate. They were close to the nuke.
I hate to say this. I hesitate to say it, but I'm going to say it. I don't think he's told us anything. Explain to me what the hold on. Let me calm down because I'm getting upset.
Why?
Early hour of the morning. What is the difference between we're very close or we're very, very close? What's the difference between those two situations?
Well, they asked him, and he said they were very. Caitlin Collins said, how close were they to having a nuclear weapon? He said very close. And then Caitlin Collins followed up and said, well, Tulsi Gabbard in March said they were nowhere near having a nuclear weapon, and he said, I don't care what she said, they were very, very close.
Well, what's the difference between very close and very, very close?
Very close and very, very close. Very, very close is closer than very close.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, no, not at all. Very, very close is closer than very close. Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very close is closer than very close. Really?
I don't know what to say.
Very, very close is closer than very close. But this is the first confirmation that I can trust, which is President Trump, that they were what you were saying yesterday, that they were close. So we're in another place now. The time to debate it is over.
We were very close. Today we're very, very close.
Well, no, today we have the first confirmation that we can trust that they were very close or very, very close to having a nuclear weapon because President Trump said so.
Very close or very, very close?
Well, Trump said very, very close, and he didn't.
Very, very close.
And
okay.
he didn't fly back at 5 a.m. and get to the Situation Room at 6 a.m. because nothing's going on. They usually do those meetings later in the day, so there's something emergent going on. What it is, we don't know. It could be them planning an action, but by the end of this show, we could be it could be going on. So I'm monitoring everything.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know why you're frustrated.
It tells me that Donald, bless his heart, has mastered the art of creating the impression he said something when he's not
Steve,
really said
even
something.
if he didn't speak, the fact that he left the G7, landed in D.C. at 5 a.m.
I'll give you that.
It was an emergency
meeting.
Military
emergency.
Yeah, it was a military. Obviously there's some type of military emergency to rush from another country to the Situation Room at 5 a.m. and have a 4 a.m. press conference on Air Force One. This is pretty big. Like I remember when I was a kid. Like when Ronald Reagan was. If they interrupted regularly scheduled programming. Today, everything's breaking news. Breaking news! And then they tell you that some celebrity broke up with another celebrity, right? Or give you the latest on P. Diddy. When I was a kid, if they came in with breaking news, that meant something big. You know what I mean? A military action. We bombed Libya or something in '87. Today, there's a lot. Everything's breaking news, and it's not breaking news. You probably already know about it. For President Trump to have a 4 a.m. press conference and then go to the Situation Room at that hour and fly back from an international conference, even though it was just Canada, it's still another country. It's pretty. That in itself, Steve, even if he didn't say very or very, very close, that in itself is enough to be alarming, don't you think?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, we're making the whole thing seems to me to be a distinction with no difference. But anyway, I'll take your word.
What do you mean?
Obviously, they're close to having a bomb.
If the president,
ready to throw it.
If the president if the president has
a banana, it's just a banana.
Steve, if I have never in my life known of a president of the United States getting on a plane, getting on Air Force One, and having a press conference at 4 a.m. about another nation like this, and then running right to the Situation Room at 5 a.m. 4 a.m. press conference. That's how emergent this is. So I don't see. I mean that in itself ramp up the danger. I'm
hung somewhere between worried, and very, very worried.
Okay. I mean, I don't quite get that, but hold on. Let me answer all these phones, Steve. Our phones are ringing off the hook. I lost track. All right. So let me take a couple of these calls, Steve, before we break. Okay? Let's go. Let's do it. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. This is Richie. Now, I'm not going to gloat here, but hi, Steve. I called Brian. I was upset Friday. I started screaming at him, and he hung up on me. when I said that I believe that that the United States is very passive. So, but this was all speculation on my part, just like it's speculation on Brian's part.
Well, that's what we do on radio. We speculate a lot.
Yeah, but here's the deal. You know when the deal breaker was done, and why and Brian said, well, whatever President Trump thinks, I think the same thing, and I got frustrated because Brian sometimes doesn't think for himself. Now, I'm glad President Trump has come around, because the fact of the matter is this: Steve Bannon and Mark Levin, none of them know anything. You know who knows something? The enemies to the United States and Israel, and you know who that is? United Nations. And their nuclear people actually came out and said Iran's been in violation since 2019. They won't let them go in.
Richie, can't you take the win? You were right. I was wrong. And you're still pissed off and miserable.
I'm not pissed off and miserable at all. Brian, I'm not gloating here.
You began by on your call by saying, I'm going to gloat a little bit here. That was the first words out of your mouth.
No,
now
I'm not thinking for President Trump. I'm thinking of when it was turned for me was when the United Nations organization checking nuclear stuff said that Iran was in total violation and they wouldn't let anyone in to look. And then, so listen, we all know what's behind the scenes. I'm sure at this point, and I'm telling you why I think Iran is evacuating Tehran. I believe that the United States is going to drop that big bomb out of the B-52 to make sure they don't get it, make sure to go down 3 miles down. I believe.
Well, I would assume that.
With this very.
Hold on, but what I think is that there's going to be a leakage of nuclear stuff in the air, and I think that's why they want everyone to get out of Tehran. It's not that they're going to bomb the city.
The Iranians probably, like all these psychos, they have their nuclear facility in some civilian neighborhood to try to shield it.
Exactly.
So it sounds to me like they may take out all of Tehran. But this difference between very close and very, very close, there's a difference between pregnant and very pregnant, okay? And I don't...
Absolutely.
And the difference between... And I don't agree with what I'm about to say, but when, to me, you're either pregnant or you're not. But when people say you're pregnant or very pregnant, the difference between pregnant and very pregnant, do you know what they mean by that?
No, I don't. That's interesting.
Do you know, Richie?
Well, when you're pregnant,
okay. The different. Now, again, I don't agree with this. Okay, but this is the same thing about very close and very, very close. Being pregnant and being very pregnant. Those are liberal phrases. Very pregnant means beyond the ability to get an abortion. Like the point of no. It's that you're at a point of no return.
This is real fast. My vengeance for Iran goes back when you were young, very young, Brian, when you said that under Jimmy Carter. It goes back that far, that they took our hostages for over a year. We never responded. We were just thankful we got them back when Reagan came in office. And then they killed all those Marines. They were in back of that Marine barracks.
That's right.
With 250. They've been killing us all along.
That Marine barracks bombing in Lebanon may have been in response to us getting our hostages back. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I would believe it.
They killed us.
Well, listen, for everyone who's still debating this, because people still are, and there's no debate at this point because the President Trump has spoken. But for those who say Israel attacked first, Iran's been attacking since '79, really, right?
Yes.
And,
so Middle East.
Yeah, so all right, Richard, we got to run for our break. But Steve, before we break, I want to ask this question to the audience. Okay, this is very important.
Right.
This is a very important question. Do you or someone you know or love suffer from neuropathy? Very important question. If so, listen up. And by the way, listen closely because I'm going to go through the god-awful neuropathy symptoms. You may have neuropathy and you don't even know it, okay? So listen to these symptoms, okay? And these are some of the more common ones. Numbness, pain, burning, tingling in your hands and feet, muscle weakness and dizziness, loss of balance, muscle twitching, the feeling of pins and needles in your hands and feet, maybe no feeling at all. If you have these symptoms, you very well may have neuropathy. You want to call Lighthouse Medical and get checked out. They'll let you know if you got neuropathy or not. But if you have neuropathy, And, you want to call Lighthouse Medical. It's a no-charge consultation if you mention you heard them on the Steve Kane Show. And they can help you no matter where you're located in the United States. They have a treatment for neuropathy that works, and they have a treatment for neuropathy that lasts. And Steve Kane is a living example of it. Steve, you had your neuropathy treatment 3 years ago with Lighthouse Medical. Not only did they rid you of your neuropathy symptoms, 3 years out, they've not returned. So it's
amazing. There's no question. They're great folks up there.
Yeah, that's right.
At Lighthouse Medical.
Yeah, and it's a treatment that works and a treatment that lasts, and they can help you no matter where you are located. 754.
Give the number.
Yeah, I was, Steve. I just gave out the area code as you were. 754 222 6642. 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. Call us on hold. Stand by. We'll be right back. I'm going to put you on hold for a minute, Steve. Hold on. All right, Steve, you there?
Yes.
All right, hold on. Okay, we'll be back in about a minute and a half. Hold on, Steve, again. Steve, you there? Yeah, we got about a minute. Hold on. All right, Steve, you there? Steve? Steve? Steve?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Less than a minute. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. Steve Kane is here. We've had major developments with Iran and the United States and Trump. But instead of recapping, you want to take some calls, Steve? We got a pretty full board here.
Do it.
All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Brian, it's Michael from Palm Beach Gardens. Back when Carter was president, we had several hundred hostages in Beirut, Lebanon.
Yes.
And when Reagan, right before Reagan, I don't even know if you were born, like 1980. Anyway, Reagan, before he even took office, they were released. And Reagan said, you do not negotiate with terrorists. So that's the point I just want to make.
Yeah. All right. All right. Appreciate the call.
All right.
All right. Palm Beach Gardens.
It's a historical perspective.
And I like a caller that knows when they're out of material. That's very rare.
Exactly.
He may be our best caller. Right? All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Ben from Pompano. How's it going?
All right, Ben.
Hey, so first things first, I just want to say that I stand with President Trump. There's a lot of people on this line right now, especially X, who are renouncing their support for President Trump.
Insane.
They're ostensibly libertarian, They're trying to create a wedge. They're trying to make it seem like there's some backlash against Trump.
Fake MAGA.
Have you announced your support?
Fake
Have you
MAGA.
announced your support? The only one you can speak for is yourself. We don't know about all the other people on the line.
Actually, no, that's not true. There's polls.
Have you announced your support? Answer the question. It's very simple. Have you announced your support? When?
You need me? I'll repeat it for you. I stand with President Trump. I just did. You want me to say it again?
Yeah. Okay.
You never supported President Trump to begin with.
No, he did. No. You know what you're saying. No, Ben. No. You misunderstood what he said. No, Ben, you're right. You know, there have been a lot of people. Okay, in the last 24 hours, there's been a lot of MAGA people who have come out against Trump's involvement with Iran. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson.
Candace.
Well, Candace Owens.
I don't know why we're wasting our time talking about it.
Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon.
Because they have it. Because they have
anybody that hesitates to launch at this point is an idiot. Because if we don't launch, they're going to.
I'm just saying, there's people online with influence who are going after Trump. And I'm saying right here, declare definitively that I stand with him, and these people are an op trying to make it seem like there's some sort of backlash against Trump when it's not. Like Dave Smith, he's a famous one, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. There's big names out there on X. I don't know if you're on X. I know Brian is, but I don't know if you're on X, Steve. But there's a lot of people calling out Trump, and it's trending.
Well, a lot of people. Listen, when we did, I went to Attorney Barry Siegel's workshop a few weeks ago. A lot of you were there, and someone came just to warn me of Tucker Carlson's anti-Semitism, and a lot of people have been. He had a particular guest on who's, I don't know if he's a Holocaust or not. There's a particular person he gave a very long interview for and didn't seem to give the guy grief. And he has a reputation of not liking Jews. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know this: Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon did 2 shows yesterday against this. They did Bannon's show and Tucker's show yesterday, and Marjorie Taylor Greene came out against this. Benny Johnson and Charlie Kirk have been against this.
So what do you? So Brian, talk to me. What do you? Does that give you pause?
Well, it's
Marjorie Taylor Greene is against.
Well, this is what I'll tell you what I mean. Okay, I have said from the beginning, whatever Trump says, I'm with. Once he comes out, I'm going to follow Trump. None of these people put that disclaimer in. They've all been throwing Trump under the bus. So what's happened is we've smoked out maybe some fake MAGA here. We'll see what people do today.
Well, it's a big deal because people are using this as quote unquote evidence that Trump is a traitor because he's trying to get.
Well, it's more specific. What I listened to Tucker with Bannon yesterday, and he didn't use these words, okay? But the way it came off is Trump's controlled by the military and industrial complex and Jews.
Oh, what a bunch of crap!
I mean, that's how I took it. Yeah. I mean, who else would be controlling him other than Jews and the military industrial complex?
I mean, that's such nonsense.
Well, no, I agree, but that's the inference that's been made.
I know, and that's people. All I'm saying that there are rats in our shit that are trying to use this opportunity to take out Trump and make him look bad, to paint him as a hypocrite or going back on his word.
People are getting crazier than the liberals. I mean, this is just ridiculous.
You're right.
No, Steve. Yesterday.
And there's a great movie that I love very much, To Kill a Mockingbird. There's a scene in it, everybody will recall it. There's a short little scene where there's a rabid dog going down the middle of the street, and Gregory Peck takes out, I think it was Gregory Peck, takes out this rifle, and he shoots the rabid dog that's in the street. That's exactly the same situation as this. You've got a situation where these people are out of control, and they've got a bomb that can kill millions of people. Well, how
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you, Steve. There are some MAGA people, or at least pretending to be MAGA, that hate Jews. Okay, like Candace Owens. There's a lot. Well,
they're not MAGA. They're not MAGA.
Tucker Carlson?
No, they're using MAGA as a vehicle, as a Trojan horse to deliver their anti-Semitism. They're not MAGA. They're anti-Semitic.
Correct.
Anti-Semites first.
Correct.
And then they're using MAGA because it's a socially acceptable Trojan horse to bring their
and what they compare is what they do is they compare our opposition to Ukraine to this, and it's a different. We've been fighting a war with the Iranians for 45 years. I mean, come on.
And we don't even know Trump. We don't even know what's going to happen. I'm going to wait and see what Trump's going to do. But so far, it's not going to be another.
Hold on, caller. I got to stop you. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know that it's going to end with taking out this bomb.
I think they're going to
blowing it up or deactivating it.
No, I mean specifically our involvement militarily. I don't know what the degree of it is going to be. If it's going to be
what degree?
It sounds to me like Trump is. It sounds to me like Trump is going to authorize a massive conventional weapon that's not been used before. We have a lot of conventional weapons that are so powerful that have never been used before, and it sounds like that to me. Like they're going to take out all of Tehran.
That's Don's job. He's the president.
Steve, we're agreeing with you.
He won the election.
Steve,
He's going to make the call.
Steve, we're agreeing with you.
What's the complexity here?
We're agreeing with you. We're not debating you. We're agreeing with you.
Okay.
I don't know.
But what's the confusion here?
People are thinking it's going to be some great Iraq 2.0, and I'm saying no. Trump doesn't roll like that. We're going to wait and see what he does, and it's going to be Trump style.
Like when he took out ISIS in 3 minutes with Raising Cane.
But he's not going to be specific about it. He's not going to broadcast exactly what he's.
Well, listen, we got to run. Hey Ben, good call. Appreciate the call. The rest of you on hold, hang in there. I want to talk about Friendly Tire in Margate. I found Friendly Tire in Margate really out of necessity. Years ago, I had a 4-wheel drive Jeep Wrangler with the soft top and everything, and I got such a great deal on it. And I realized why I got a great deal the first time I had to buy tires. It had those big 4-wheel drive tires. And I found Friendly Tire in Margate. Friendly Tire in Margate, they have new tires as low as $70 a tire out the door and on the road. And when I say out the door and on the road, what I mean by that is Friendly Tire doesn't charge you to balance the tire, mount the tire, or even dispose of your old tires. Okay, so the price that Mike gives you over the phone is out the door and on the road. All the cars at my house are on the road on Friendly Tire tires. Okay, they have all the name brands you know and love: Michelin, Firestone, Bridgestone, Pirelli, whatever you like. Great deals on run flats. If you got a Tesla, oh man, they got the special equipment for the Tesla tires. Give them a call. Mike will give you a quote right over the phone. 954-977-9445. Make sure you tell him you heard about him on the Steve Kane Show. He'll take extra good care of you. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445 for Friendly Tire in Margate. All right, 2 hours down, 1 to go. Call us on hold, stand by. It's the Steve Kane Show. Steve Kane is here. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be back right after this break. Steve, I'm going to put you on hold for a minute, okay? Hold on. All right, Steve, you there?
Yes.
All right, hold on. I was just answering the phones. Mm-hmm. Okay, we got about a minute left. We'll be back. Hold on. I'm going to put you on hold for a minute, Steve. Hold on. All right. You back, Steve?
I'm with you.
All right. You want to go to the phones when we go back? What do you want to do?
Yes, I guess.
Okay.
Throw it to me and let me.
All right.
I'll move it along.
All right. 3. The third hour has begun. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. Steve Kane's here. Callers on hold. Stand by. All right, you had somewhere you wanted to go, Steve?
Yeah, I have to. I'll tell you where I'd like to go. Because we're kind of like a record that's stuck. We're making a big thing out of nothing. The bottom line is it's very simple. They have to take out this monster bomb they've created. They have the details. They got to know which way the wind's blowing and all the scientific stuff, so they don't worry about half the population at the same time. And when they do the calculations, that's when they're going to take out this instrument.
You know, I'm gonna
kill more people than they need to.
I think you're missing out on. No, I don't think that's the.
What am I missing? Tell me what I'm missing out.
I'm going to tell you.
I want to know what I'm missing out.
I'm going to tell you. At this 4 a.m. press conference that the president did on Air Force One, which I believe is the first 4 a.m. press conference in the history of the presidency.
Does it matter if it's 4 or 5 or 6?
Yes. The 4 a.m. If my phone rings at 4 a.m., okay, and you're a normal person that doesn't have weird hours like I do, if your phone rings at 4 a.m., you think someone's either been arrested and in jail or they're dead.
Right,
a 4 a.m.
pretty much goes at 6 o'clock.
Okay, a 4 a.m. phone.
Unless it's you.
No, I know. A 4 a.m. phone call means death or someone's in jail, okay? Typically. A 4 a.m. presidential press conference and then immediately going into the Situation Room shows an incredible urgency. And a major urgency about the issue. And I do not, and watching the president's press conference at 4 a.m., I don't think that taking out the bomb that you're talking about is the main objective now. They may have already taken it out with the initial strikes. It seems to me the objective has changed. 100 by Trump, 100% regime change. Either they're going to be totally taken out of power by force or they're going to surrender. And by force means bombed. So, no, I think regime change in Iran is the new objective. The bomb too, but primarily both. So we've got an added component. This isn't about taking out the bomb and letting the Supreme Ayatollah Khomeini remain in power. They want the Islamic Republic of Iran to be no more. They want it to be Iran for whatever they put in there. So that's a big change, Steve. They've changed. It's changed.
I'll give you that. I mean, I agree that I see he has plans that go beyond just taking out the bomb. He's concerned with what government is going to be following this, and he wants the transition to be smooth, and he wants things to develop in a way that he'll get a cooperative government remaining
well, I told you they're talking about the last Shah's son. They're talking about putting him in power.
They're probably talking about a couple of options.
Yeah. So no,
that's why they're meeting, but it's mystery.
There's an urgency. You don't have meetings in the early morning hours if you're the president like this, unless there's urgency.
When you're dealing with something that's a nuclear bomb, obviously there's urgency.
Steve, when you do a 4 a.m. press conference and at 5:30 a.m. you're going to the Situation Room, you're flying in from another country, that is an urgency that you don't often see from presidents, okay? And this was there's a major urgency that we didn't have before. There's been a big change.
We're quibbling about here, whether it's
No. What Ben from Pompano before the break was talking about is there's a lot of MAGA people who spent the last 2 days opposing any type of action against Iran. But anyway, let's take some calls.
Well,
hold on. Oh, I lost you.
You and put me on your crap list.
No, you're not on the list.
The fact is, there are a lot of MAGA people that are not balanced too well.
Well, okay. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Will from Ohio.
Okay, Will.
Speak up.
I'm really confused about how MAGA is justifying this right now. One of the big campaign slogans was "No New Wars," and now we're threatening war in the Middle East again.
That was not a campaign slogan of Trump's. That wasn't a campaign slogan.
That was a huge.
No,
it was.
No.
No new wars.
No, I don't remember that being a campaign slogan. Do you, Steve?
I mean, of course you don't, because you're part of
the But even so, things happen. Things change, right?
That's true.
If you say no new wars and then somebody gets a nuclear weapon, you can't. Well, we said no new wars, nuke us. No new wars, nuke us. Wipe us out.
I'm with Brian 100% on that. That is ridiculous. What are they supposed to do with a live nuclear bomb there? Just leave it and wait for him to drop it in the middle of the Knesset?
Yeah, President Trump said they were very close. That's all the proof we need.
Yeah,
and not only that, they were very, very close a minute ago.
But then again, you're calling me from my home state of Ohio. Ohio gets kind of nuked in a normal way with all that toxic waste from the train, and you don't care about that either as a Democrat. So, so it doesn't...
What are you talking about?
The train derailment that poisoned people...
You're talking about the train derailment.
The train derailment that poisoned the town in Ohio that Biden didn't do anything about?
Proof there's a nuclear device in Iran.
It doesn't surprise me.
Oh my God!
It doesn't surprise. Listen.
We've passed the point of productivity
Steve,
with
this caller here. Okay, two things with this caller. He doesn't care.
You're in a cult, man.
Okay, the conversation.
You
got to stop talking, or I'm going to discontinue. We're having a conversation. All right, I appreciate the call. We can't. You can't have a conversation. He's calling.
Well, I mean, he seems like he struck a nerve there with you.
Yeah,
I
no.
hate to say it, but I've been trying to tell you this for a while.
No, Steve.
The MAGA thing it's a little culty.
No, he wouldn't stop talking to have a conversation. This guy here, that last caller from Ohio, he doesn't care when people in his own state are poisoned with toxic waste by the train derailment. And the reason he's not concerned about the nuclear bomb, its intended target are Jews, and he doesn't care about Jews either. You think that caller loves Jews? I don't think so. I don't
know one way or the other. How would you know that? You just assume that anybody
it's not my... No, I could tell by his tone. Plus, he's called before. But no, the proof that we have that they are... President Trump didn't say they have a nuclear bomb. He said they were very, very close. Okay?
No, very, very, very close.
No, he said very, very. Not very, very, very.
Very, very?
He said very, very. That's correct. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. This is Ted from West Virginia.
Okay.
How's it going, brother?
Okay. You called us.
Are you able to hear?
I can hear you fine. What's on your mind?
Hey, man, I just wanted to call in and say I don't know about some of the other callers, but I love what's going on with our government. The people's president. We're inching 1 inch closer every day to the People's Democratic Republic, as we should. I'm loving the expanse of the executive branch. I'm loving the oversight.
You're not loving any of it, Chris. You're a Trump hater, and you're sitting there trying to pretend that you're happy when you know you're getting your butt kicked.
How? I said nothing that leads into that. I love
Steve and I have talked to. Listen. This is the longest running. Here's another one. Slow down. Steve and I.
Give me a chance to finish what I've said,
Now,
Brian.
this is the
You
longest.
still let me finish
This is
what I had to
the
call about.
listen. This is the longest running radio show in the state of Florida. Steve and I have talked to tens of thousands. Steve and I have talked to tens of thousands.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it really the longest running show in Florida?
Yes.
Is it really?
Yes, the longest running radio show in the state of Florida, the Steve Kane Show. Yes.
The longest running radio show.
Yeah, yeah.
That's quite a spectacle.
Well, it's
And
well.
you guys,
Part of the reason is Steve's getting up there and
was
older.
it the longest running podcast or radio show?
The longest running radio show. We're on the radio.
Okay, radio. Cool. Well, we're on YouTube, but yeah, that works.
We're on YouTube as well, and on iHeartRadio and a bunch of other places. But the Steve Kane Show is the longest running radio show in the state of Florida. And between the two of us, we've talked to tens of thousands of liberal lunatics. All right, I'm gonna enough. I mean, I can't have an argument over every syllable. What was that? 3 syllables? 4 syllables? Are you really saying that? I mean, come on. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air.
Hello?
Yes. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, IB.
Oh.
Man, here we go at the Apex. Hey, Uncle Steve, you got to check this out. Like I said, we're at the Apex, okay? Surgeon, hospital, tumor being removed. Even without them having the nukes, it's over. We're tired of being threatened. Imagine us in America having to go into bunkers because we feel something is coming over our globe and hit us. They shouldn't have to live like that. Take the bomb out of the equation. They hit our boats. They hit our planes. They hit our people.
These guys are psychopaths, for crying out loud.
So how long do we want that to continue? We are in a position now, and like I said, we're in history. We're in a position to remove this tumor from the globe. Now, are they going to live up to their beliefs? Are they going to be martyrs, even though they have many wives? Are they going to go get those 70 virgins? Or are they going to flee to Morocco or Turkey or Venezuela?
There's no fleeing. No, there's no fleeing. All right, IB, I appreciate the call. All right. I got to tell you guys about, of course, Mike Lindell and My Pillow. His Mike Lindell's trial was over yesterday, and some may say that he lost because he had a settlement he has to pay that's a little over $2 million, which is a lot of money. But he was being sued for over $60 million. So two plus, when you were being sued for 63 plus, it sounds like kind of a win. I mean, to me, it'd be devastating, Steve. But to him, it was so that trial's over. But Mike Lindell's been through a lot of trials because he came out of the closet as a Trump supporter when it wasn't as cool to do so with a lot of business owners. And Mike Lindell and My Pillow have been kicked out of every major retailer in America. Walmart, Bed Bath & Beyond went out of business because of it. Kohl's, and the home shopping channels, QVC, all of them. They've rid themselves of the My Pillow products. And Mike Lindell has kept his entire staff employed. And the reason he's done that, these deals that we offer, these are the wholesale prices that the Walmart buyers used to get on the My Pillow products, okay? When you're a big retailer like Walmart, you get the best pricing because you buy so much. So you're getting the wholesale Walmart buyer prices on all the products with our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE, at Mike Lindell's great website, mypillow.com. And I just want to talk about the My Pillow 100% Giza Cotton Dream Sheets. They're just $49.98, any size, any color, from twin all the way up to California King and Split King and Queen and RV Queen. Whatever size mattress, whatever color, whatever pattern, just $49.98. The regular price is $109.98. That's with our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE. You can also order by phone, toll free, 1-800-716-4879. 1-800-716, 716. I gave the wrong number, Steve. 1-800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. Promo code KANE, K-A-N-E. All right, we'll take our first break at the third hour. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. All right, Steve, I'm going to put you on hold. I got to call Barry. Hold on. Hey, Barry, it's Brian. Hold on. Steve, you there?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to conference Barry in. Hold on. Hey, Barry, we'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
The guy who did these cases of other lawyers around this country, he's an expert at coming in.
Okay, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right, welcome back. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. Steve Kane here, and it's time to check in with Attorney Barry Siegel from the Siegel Law Group. Attorney Barry Siegel, good morning.
Good morning. How you gentlemen doing today? Hey, Steve. Doing good, doing good.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people may not know this, but Attorney Barry Siegel is Steve Kane's attorney when it comes to such matters. What do you have for us today, Barry?
Well, of course, I'm going to talk about what's coming up on Saturday, the opportunity to gain more peace of mind and get the education on how to do that. What I'm talking about, of course, is our upcoming Saturday Medicaid workshop that we are doing in our Boca Raton office. I haven't even been mentioning this week, but of course, that we have another seminar on Thursday at Spanish River Library on Living Trusts. But
Yeah.
I really want to, because we haven't been doing the Medicaid seminars in a long time and also haven't done anything on Saturdays in a long time, I want to urge people who have been asking for this to call our office so they can get registered and learn what they need to learn and perhaps take action on what they need to take action on to make sure that they don't run out of money before they run out of life, to make sure that you have a plan for long-term care, especially if you don't have long-term care insurance. So please call us and register so you can protect yourself and your family.
Yeah, and this Medicaid planning, it's really, if you live in Florida, we have the oldest population in the country. So if you live in Florida, if you haven't had this happen in your own family, you probably know of someone that it has happened to. Husband and wife, one of them gets ill, they need nursing home care, they need at-home care, they don't have long-term coverage, they end up going bankrupt. They pass, the surviving spouse is left homeless and bankrupt, living with the kids or grandkids, and it doesn't have to be that way. So this workshop on Saturday about Medicaid planning, it's very important, and I don't remember the last time that Attorney Barry Siegel had a Saturday workshop at all. So you don't know when they're going to come around again. You don't want to miss this. Give the Siegel Law Group a call. The Saturday workshop is at your main office in Boca on Military Trail, right, Barry?
It is, yes, at 10 a.m.
Yeah, and that's real close to I-95. So if you're coming from a little further away, it's right, Military Trail, and it's really close to I-95. Give the Siegel Law Group a call, toll free, 855-FLA-3782. 855-FLA-3782. And online, SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, Attorney Barry Siegel, we'll talk later in the week.
All right, thank you guys. Take care.
All right, take care. Steve, I remember we met Barry through a mutual friend of ours, and you already had a trust done by another lawyer, and it was a trust in name only. It was no good. I mean, remember, the trustee was dead. There were some ex-spouses of children that were heirs. There were grandchildren left out because they hadn't even been conceived yet. It was a mess. If we wouldn't have been Attorney Barry Siegel, your family would have been doomed. They would have been, oh my goodness.
It was a mess.
Yeah. All right. If you're on hold, stand by. I want to go. Hold on, Steve. I'm going to put everybody on hold here. I want to go through and recap the situation we're in right now, if you don't mind, because people that are just tuning in, there's been a lot happening involving Iran. okay? And Steve and I have a disagreement on what the significance of all this means, but President Trump had a 4 a.m. press conference today and landed in Washington at 5 a.m., went right to the Situation Room at the White House. Yesterday, he told everyone in Tehran, the capital of Iran, to get out. I saw yesterday mass self-deportations taking place from Tehran. The roads, there was aerial footage at night. I mean, it looked like the LA freeway, okay? I mean, people were getting out of Dodge. And President Trump confirmed that Iran was very, very close to a nuclear weapon. He didn't say they had it. He said they were very, very close. Then he went on to say, he was asked at this 4 a.m. press conference if he's open to negotiations with Iran. He says those times are over. He wants a real end, or they can give up. A real end, so he's talking about either regime change through bombing them out of existence or them surrendering. And these leaders of Iran are not going to surrender and go live in Morocco, or where did the Ayatollah Khomeini used to live in Paris, I remember, in the 70s before the revolution. That's not going to happen. They're going to go down with the ship. So we've had a major escalation in things. And so far as the 4 a.m. press conference, what I was trying to tell you, Steve, when the presidents break in regularly scheduled programming, it's a big deal. When they do it at 4 a.m., it's an emergency. I would say for him to do what he did at such an early hour was an emergency. I've never heard of something like this happening. All right. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Danielle from Boynton Beach, and I support my President Trump. And I think that your show is awesome because it's nice to see that people are asking questions. We are two wars going at this time, one here and one between Israel and Iran. But when I'm looking at my map and I see Iran, which is surrounding with Iraq, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Syria, do you really think that around Tehran, that the other country, they're not happy?
President Trump a couple weeks ago did a whole Mideast tour. He probably talked to them about this very thing and prepared them. That was the real reason for the trip.
Yes, and you know what? I'm going to Trump, President Trump. And one thing I just want to say, Brian, and then I hang up. Tucker Carlson yesterday in his interview with Steve Bannon, I listened to it, and he said, hey, listen, man, I don't want war. I have 4 kids. And I think it's about time that we speak up and we say, going to war, I don't have kids, but I can only imagine those who lose their kids for a unfinished war.
No. President Trump, hold on. Yep. We're not talking about some ground. We're not talking about some ground invasion. What we're talking about are massive conventional bombs that have never been used before, taking them out. Yes. Trump's not going to send it. Trump's not going to invade.
It's not just a word, but it's not taking him out is not the issue. The major issue is getting rid of decommissioning the bomb. The bomb is the issue.
And regime change. They're taking out the government and the bomb.
Yes,
they're done. There's no more. You know what? What happened? Trump gave them 60 days, and they treated him like a jerk. They thought that they could just we'll just toy along until we get a new president, and we'll get some liberal in, and they'll send us planes of money again. And he realized negotiating with them was useless.
Yeah, and I want to say, but this is so healthy that finally, my God, we do, because we were all red pill. I was red pill with the Iraq war too. I'm still waiting for the weapon of mass destruction. But this time, our country, the people, the Trump supporter, we are asking questions, but we support him because he is the peace president. Finally,
he's got a lot of support out there. There's no question of that.
All right, appreciate the call. All right. She is smart. I got a big announcement, Steve, from Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Listen up, guys. This is a big announcement. In fact, I just got this on an email this morning. Listen to this. Coastal Weight Loss Secret is launching their first ever July 4th sale. Now, this is for those of you that are new clients, okay? You'll receive 20% off the program if you're a good candidate for the program. So hurry up. This offer expires July 7th. So, yeah. So if you're new to them, you'll receive 20% off. But again, this ends July 7th. It's the 4th of July special. I'm going to give you the number. And guys, this is awesome. And you've seen my transformation. Remember, no exercise, no prescription medication like Ozempic, and I'm eating food I would normally eat. And I lost about 1 pound a day, and I've kept it off. Remember, that's without, if I would have exercised, I could have lost a little bit more a day and maybe a little faster. But if I'm losing about 1 pound a day and I'm not doing any exercising, that's fast enough for me. Give them a call. When you call Coastal Weight Loss Secret, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. Here's the number, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlasssecret.com. We'll be right back. I'm going to put you on hold for a minute, Steve. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. You there? Okay.
I'm here.
All right. Mm-hmm. Isn't that something? Okay. Thirty seconds. Oh. All right, we're back. It's the Steve Kane Show. Steve Kane is here. I'm Brian Craig. If you're on hold, stand by. Our number is toll free 1-888-465-2631. This is just my view. If the time for debate over Iran and Israel, if you're MAGA, is over, the president has spoken, right? And he's confirmed everything about the weapon, and did this emergency press conference, emergency situation room, and I promise you there was no cocaine outside the situation room like with Biden, and it's changed. So I don't know. Will some of these MAGA people like Tucker and Bannon, let's see what they do today. All right, you want to go back to the phone, Steve?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Okay, all right. Okay, that's, the liberal response. But you go through what the president has been posting, okay, on social media, okay, and he's been very, very clear. He said this is all on true. It's really amazing the direct communication we get from the president, and we don't have to filter it, right? This is what he posted on True Social a couple hours ago. I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks in any way, shape, or form. This is just more highly fabricated fake news. If they want to talk, they know how to reach me. They should have taken the deal that was on the table. Would have saved a lot of lives. Okay, I mean, so we're all in. Then he went on to say this: America first means many great things, including the fact that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Make America great again. Then, a lot of people have been calling in today about Tucker with Bannon yesterday. He responded to Tucker on True Social. Somebody please explain to kooky Tucker Carlson that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Yeah, so Kooky Tucker. So Kooky Tucker is the nickname. Oh, my goodness.
It's not just Tucker. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people out there that seem to think that we ought to let these people have the bomb.
Well, I
don't understand how people can be so stupid.
I disagree. I think there's a lot of people out there that didn't believe that they had a bomb because they don't trust the intelligence agencies. Now that Trump has confirmed it, let's see what they do today. But Tucker, really going after Trump like he did yesterday. What happens a lot of times, Steve, is a lot of people. I like Tucker. Okay, I met him at that Turning Point thing. Right after he got fired, and he was pretty cool. But Tucker really hasn't been talked about too much lately. If you noticed, right? He got a lot of publicity for a while, but he kind of faded. And a lot of times, people say and do things so that the media is talking about him. And he picked a bad one and a bad day to do it. Well, let me answer all these lines. Oh, my goodness, Steve, our phones are ringing off the bloody hook. All right, you want to take some calls?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Mr. Craig. I'm Dylan. I'm from Texas.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's wonderful. Have fun. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
All right. You're on the air. What's your name?
Once, twice. Aren't you glad we went to the phone, Steve? Yeah, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm good. Hi, I'm Joe. I'm calling from Thailand. I have a question for you and for Steve. So, when was the last successful regime change made by the U.S. after World War II?
Oh, after World War II? I'm glad you gave us that time point. Germany and Japan, right after World War II, very successful regime changes, from the Nazis to democracy.
No, that's not what I meant.
Well, you said since World War II. That was after the war.
That's fine. But so you have those two examples, and then everywhere else.
I'll give you another. I'll give you another. No, I'll give you another. Iraq.
That's successful. You think? So I mean.
Yeah, it is. We don't hear about them. We don't hear about them killing their own people or stopping oil tankers anymore in the Persian Gulf. Yeah, Iraq.
So Trump himself came out and said, "Look, that a lot of these Middle East countries would have been better with for example." Saddam
Excuse me.
Hussein
It used to be every other weekend we were hearing about Iraq doing this, doing that, surgical airstrikes against them. You asked for when have there been successful regime changes? I've given you 3, and then you tried changing the subject.
Well, so there have been a lot of attempts at regime change, both in Latin America and in the Middle East.
Well, you didn't ask me for failed ones. You asked for successful ones. I gave Iraq.
Right after.
Iraq.
Okay. So
that's after World War II.
Well, this is true, right? But
okay.
We're going over old territory.
Do you want
to see your call?
Okay, so there it is. So regime change is possible. Oh my goodness. You know, liberals with their talking points, they don't think much beyond the talking point. They got that talking point.
By the way, just while we have a little in the conversation here, let me
Yes.
try to bring something up. Yesterday we talked about this Minnesota killer.
Yeah.
And why none of the people who were reporting the capture of the killer talked anything about his motivation from all the stuff they had found by this lunatic who was out there killing politicians in Minnesota, what was going on with him. And I watched Fox most of yesterday, and I still don't have an answer as to what motivated
Well,
him.
the Minnesota authorities handling the case did something insane yesterday. Insane. Did you see what they did? Oh, no. They did something crazy. I'll tell you what they did in a minute, okay? But let me tell you what's happening. Right after the shooting, this guy's a liberal. Don't let them make you think he's MAGA, okay? That guy in the Papa John shirt, that weirdo they keep interviewing, that's all they got. If this guy was MAGA, you would see pictures of him with MAGA hats and everything else all over the place. But when these god-awful, tragic shootings happened in Minnesota, it was immediately being reported by credible people online that he targeted the people he targeted because they had voted to remove Medicaid benefits from the illegals in the state of Minnesota.
I watched television almost round the clock yesterday, and not one person brought it up on either the liberal channels or Fox.
Yeah, it was all over the internet over the weekend. In fact, one of the female victims, I don't remember which, okay? I don't know if it's the female that tragically passed from the murder or survived. But one of them, she was on the floor of the legislature crying when she voted against giving illegals the Medicaid. She was crying. And that actually made the news. We may have even talked about it. But that even made the news. So originally that was the motivation. Then it was reported by the authorities that
that they got from the materials he left in his car, right? From the manifesto?
The police had said they had gotten a manifesto and all these things, and stuff started leaking out.
But there was no details on the
Well, no, I'm telling you.
manifesto.
I'm telling you. So the first story that came out, it was over their voting against the Medicaid for illegals in Minnesota. And then he had this manifesto. What the police did yesterday was crazy. They released their own typed up version of some portion of his list and manifesto. They didn't release original pages or even photocopies of it. They typed up their own. And the list they released left off some of the victims that we know are on the list. So there's a cover-up going on in Minnesota as to the list he had and the manifesto. They were telling us that he had Republicans and Democrats on his list and all this stuff, and then they didn't release the list. They typed up a new list, right? I mean, there's a tampering of the evidence by the police with what they release.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, we're saying Fox was in on it.
Yeah.
That's hard to believe.
I wouldn't say in on it. I'm going to give Fox.
Well, if they participated, if they had the story right, and they didn't give the information at a press conference, that they were covering it up.
Yeah. I think they're more. With Fox, maybe it's just story selection. They're more interested in promoting war than reporting domestic news. But when that shooting happened. When it broke on the news, it was Saturday, or like midday Saturday is when that story broke in the national news, and right away it was being reported online that it was over them voting to take the Medicaid away from the illegals. And
the first story I heard was a different story, but
what was the first one you heard?
I'm trying to remember. There's so many.
Yeah.
What the heck was it? Oh, the first story was they had found flyers for the
No Kings.
No More Kings.
Yeah, the No King. Yes, they found that in the car.
And,
yeah.
And they figured he was. They surmised from that it was a liberal who didn't like McDonald.
Yeah. I know he wasn't MAGA because I saw a picture of him with a Democrat with a liberal shirt on yesterday. Okay, I saw this guy. The media are basing everything on this weirdo homeless-looking guy in the Papa John shirt that says that he's friends with him and they live together. They did stop his wife. His wife was looking to maybe help him escape. The police picked up the wife too. But listen, we're going to take our last break. I'm going to put you and everyone on hold because we got the gold report coming up. So if you're on hold, hang in there. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian. We'll be right back. Hey there, hold on. Steve? Steve?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to conference William in. Hold on. All right, William, stand by. We'll be back shortly.
That's better.
Okay. Okay, 45 seconds.
Brian,
hold on, Steve. We're coming back.
Call me
No, I will stand by. We're coming back. All right, welcome back. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane's here. And it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated with the Morning Gold and Precious Metals Report. William Youngerman, how the metals looking today?
Metals looking stable today, but a little lower yesterday, giving us a buying opportunity after running all the way up near our all-time highs at 34.52 on the high yesterday and the low of 33.80 with the close of $3,383.50 on gold. That was down $47.65. Silver unchanged yesterday, closing out today at $36.23. Platinum gaining $20 at $12.48. And palladium was up $3 at $1,031. Overnight, we saw gold trading in a range of $33.75 on the low, all the way up to $34.04. Right now, we're at $3,386 the ounce. That's up $2.50. Silver up 52 cents at $36.75. Silver got up to $37 earlier this morning.
Wow.
Already. Platinum up $6 at $1,254, and palladium gaining $10 right now at $1,041. So the metal to watch still is that silver and platinum. They've both been doing very well.
Silver and platinum are on fire. What do you recommend as the best buys in silver and platinum right now?
On silver, practically all the products are on sale.
Yeah.
As far as the premiums are concerned, so you can pick and choose anything you want. We have it all in stock for immediate delivery. Platinum, right now, the best buy is probably the 1 ounce platinum bars.
Yeah. And those are beautiful bars, too. They are really beautiful. All right, listen, William Youngerman opens up at 10 a.m. You can stop in at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. You can give them a call toll-free, 1-800-327-5010, 1-800-327-5010. Hey, William Youngerman, those 1 ounce platinum bars, do they come in one of those plastic how do you get those?
They come in, sometimes they come carded, what we call carded in little cases.
Yeah.
Or they come in sealed in a soft plastic.
That's what I
along
meant.
with their certificate from the manufacturer.
That's what I meant. Yeah, that's the seal in a soft plastic. All right, again, the number's 1-800-327-5010. All right, William Youngerman, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day.
All right, take care. All right, Steve, we got a lot of breaking news, okay, on Iran. You ready? You ready for it? Okay, there's a couple. Hold on, let me get this queued up. There's two things. Now, I want to tell you. I told you yesterday. Been telling you through this whole discussion. I don't trust our intelligence agencies until Trump comes out and tells us. Okay, when Trump tells us, I'll believe it. And Trump is releasing a lot of stuff now from our intelligence agencies to the press. There's two things. One, satellite imagery reveals a previously unknown nuclear facility in Iran that spans 2,500 acres. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. 2,500 acre nuclear facility. You and I didn't know about it. President Trump's releasing that information. Now there's more, and let me tell you guys, this is coming. If this were just our intelligence agencies, or Mark Levin or Ben Shapiro, or who's that guy with the mustache? He must be disgusting to eat with. That's always on TV. That hates Trump, the warmonger. You know, he was W. Bush's UN ambassador. You know what I'm talking about? The guy with the big mustache. You know that guy. I wouldn't trust anything they say. This is coming from the president, okay? The general of CENTCOM says estimated current Iranian stockpiles that are available. Bolton, John Bolton is his name. The estimated current stockpiles available that Iran have are sufficient to produce its first 25 kg, is I guess the kilogram of weapons-grade material in roughly 1 week. So they got 25 kilograms of weapons-grade material in about a week, and roughly for up to 10 nuclear weapons in 3 weeks. Okay? So this is coming from the president's releasing this information, okay? So they have enough for a weapon in 1 week and for 10 nuclear weapons in 3 weeks. So that's it.
And we're sitting here debating whether or not we should take them out.
No, I don't. I think the debate's over. I think we're all in agreement now.
If you listen to the show, that's what we've been.
No.
Some of these idiots that call in are talking about.
Well, the liberals are always going to be against. Let me answer all these phones. I can't believe all these phones. All right, Steve. Liberals are always going to be against anything Trump does. I don't care what they say. You know, I mean, Trump says the sky's blue. Oh no, it's not. It's not blue. It's not. I'm telling you. But you know, for president.
Is that the end of the bulletin, by the way?
Yeah, you want
all the good news for this morning?
Well, no, there's a major updates and very specific and confirmations from the president himself. 20, you know, so they got enough. They've got 1 week away from a nuclear weapon, 3 weeks away from 10. And this facility that we didn't know about, a nuclear facility, 2,500 acres large. That's massive. I mean, you know, come on. So that's it. I mean, it's all true now. There's no longer any debate. It's true. They have it. They are, and I consider a week very, very close.
Is there any information on how
that's all we got.
difficult it's going to be to dispose of it?
I got all of it. Well, that's probably why the evacuations are going on, because when they bomb this with these, there are these massive conventional weapons that we've never used before that the country have. They're non-nuclear and they're very destructive. When they bomb these nuclear facilities, it could have I guess, I'm assuming, it could have like a dirty bomb effect on the surrounding area.
That's what I'd be concerned with.
Well, you know, and I'm telling you, these people, they put these facilities as close to civilians as possible to use as shields. Okay? So it would not surprise me if this is like in a residential neighborhood. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it's like in a residential neighborhood. That's why Trump said, everyone get out of Tehran. All right, let's try a call. I don't know. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, I'm Mark. I'm from South Florida.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. Enjoy your time on the beach. So that's it. And so what we're going to find today, okay, and I mean, this is just what I'm going to do. What we're really talking about today is what was happening yesterday, right? With some of the callers are opposed to it, of course. Most of the callers, though, we're talking, well, I heard Tucker say this yesterday. I heard Marjorie Taylor Greene say this, and Bannon said that. Let's see what they do today, all right? I mean, if they oppose this now, they're calling President Trump a liar. They're saying that President Trump is lying about WMDs in Iran. And and if anyone is calling President Trump a liar, that's fake MAGA. I mean, or they're no longer MAGA. Or they never were MAGA, right? I mean, there's no way that President Trump would lie about something like this. And, you got to understand something. He has his people in place now at all of these agencies, the intelligence agencies and the military.
Yeah, that's the good news.
So the people that are in charge are people he can trust. And he spent this last 4 years when he was dodging bullets in Butler and arrest warrants from corrupt Democrat politicians and such. He spent his time doing a search for who was going to lead all of these different agencies. When he's talked about this, the first time I didn't know who I could really trust. I was new to politics. I was new to Washington. Now I know who. So, he's got people in place that he can trust. And, this guy that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs is raising Cain that defeated ISIS for him. He told that story that he told at all the rallies. That's who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs now. So he's got a military leader he can trust, and he can get advice from him on he's been over there, so he knows what weapons to use, what to do. This is not going to be any type of, like, Steve, I remember when Bush went into Afghanistan, he did a tank invasion like it was, Patton in World War II. I was surprised at that. But now I realize he did a war like that to drag it out. Trump's going to go in and hit them hard with the biggest conventional bombs we have. It's going to be massive. And it's going to happen at any time. All right, now if you're on hold, stand by. Our number is 1-888-465-2631. Steve, I wanted to give out the number one last time to Lighthouse Medical and their neuropathy treatment. The thing about Lighthouse Medical that makes it so important is you had this experience, Steve, and I know so many others have. Your doctor will tell you there's no treatment for neuropathy. It's not true. There's a treatment that works. They have it at Lighthouse Medical, and it's a treatment that lasts. Steve had his neuropathy treatment 3 years ago, and all those symptoms, not only were they disappeared by that great treatment at Lighthouse Medical, they have not returned. Give them a call. They can help you no matter where you're located. Make sure you tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show so you can take advantage of their no-charge consultation. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. All right, hold on. Let me answer all these calls that are coming in. I'm not sure if they're going to be good or not, but we'll try. We'll take them randomly. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian. Hi, Steve. How are you today? Well, I'm telling you, you talk about high drama. No wonder he had that 4 o'clock press conference. That is a major announcement. I'm wondering, are there possibilities they have other nuclear facilities that we don't know about?
Well, there was just one we found out about a few minutes ago. You were probably calling in. They released 2 pieces of information. One, there was a previously unknown nuclear facility discovered by satellites, 2,500 acres large. They're 1 week away. They're 1 week away from their first operational nuke. 3 weeks away from having 10.
Oh my God!
That's
They
it.
got to be. I mean, they got to get hit right away. I mean, this is. How does Mossad not know about this?
Maybe they. Well,
I mean, how do we?
My guess is what's happened is that now, since a lot of the leaders have been taken out, there's a lot of people that have either been captured by Mossad or looking to broker deals and are defecting.
Wow. That's a big announcement.
It
That's
is.
a big announcement. Did they say is that buried deep by any chance?
I don't. There's no other details. It was revealed by satellite imagery, so it's got to be visible from above somehow.
Yeah. So we then have to send the B-2 bombers.
These conventional bombs, these massive bombs we have that have never been used or seen, have a destructive power equal to nuclear weapons. Some of them. Without the nuclear fallout, without the radiation.
Yeah. Well, you remember the daisy cutters that they use, how powerful those things were.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm curious why nobody saw this. I mean, all the planning for this.
This thing about
taking out
it
these
seems like, Steve, you don't understand the significance of the 4 a.m. press conference. On 9/11, there was one moment on 9/11 that I was really, here in Florida, there was a moment if I was in New York, I would have been terrified, but I knew we weren't under attack here in Florida. And President Bush, the first time he addressed the American people, I watched it. And I remember Peter Jennings was on, and he's like, we're going to go to the President of the United States. This statement was made 25 minutes ago. He made the statement and then took off on Air Force One. And I said, holy crap, they don't know what's going on. They think Air Force One's a target. They don't want anybody to know where he was. It's when President Bush spoke from that base in Mississippi. A 4 a.m. press conference by a president is like that. It's an emergency. It's an emergency.
Yeah. Well, like you were saying, but I never heard of a 4 a.m. press conference.
Ever.
Prior to this. I mean, it's excuse me. It's going to be a day of high drama. And thank God they found that facility, though. Thank God they found that.
Well, and here's the thing. The debate that I've been having is I don't trust the intelligence agencies. And I told you guys, when Trump comes out, I'll believe him. Now we got this new information from the president. It is a fact. There's no debate. Israel was right. Netanyahu was right. I was wrong. Okay?
Right.
And Tucker hates Jews. I mean, everybody's been saying that,
Well, the other guy that I trust there is Raising Cane.
Oh!
I mean, if he gets the green light to take this out, he'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do it. So let's see what happens. So that is a big announcement, and wow, what a drama first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning.
I know. All right, appreciate the call. Appreciate the call. Yeah, I mean, this is...
You got it right when you said, we'll find out what happens.
Well, that's true. I mean, but that's true with anything, right? Well, we're going to have a meal, and we'll find out if it's good after we eat it. But no, I would say that there is no more debate over in U.S. involvement and Israeli involvement in Iraq. Not if you're MAGA. Okay, so I'll get out the list and start adding people's names to the fake MAGA list. Well, listen, if you're on hold, stand by. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., all right? You're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977. My name is Brian Craig. Of course, Steve Kane has been here. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump. And we'll see you tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. All right, we're out. Do you want to take another call or two, Steve? There's some people on hold at the post show. Steve? Nope, I guess not. All right. Steve disconnected, but I want to take a call or two. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Steve. This is James from Delray. How you doing today?
All right, James. What's up?
Hey, listen. The advent of the technology we have today is making that we can target just certain areas. I mean, the A-bomb didn't do that. Chernobyl didn't do that. Explodes of any dense area, and the ramifications are unbelievable. And we're trying to say, if we bust up their nuclear facilities, won't that put out some radiation somewhere? I'd imagine
I would imagine if there's radioactive material there, it could. I guess it could radiate the immediate area. Yeah.
I mean, Chernobyl's still not open to the public. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of miles. I mean,
but if these bombs are so big and powerful, would the fire they cause destroy it? I don't know. I'm not a nuclear scientist. I don't know. We're in new territory.
It's called war for a reason. These people put their fingers in place. It's war. I mean, people are going to die. You know, and that's unfortunate.
Sad.
Civilians are going to die, and these idiots are hiding behind them. That's crazy.
Yep. All right.
Anyway.
All right. Take care, man. Appreciate the call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello. I'm Mike. I'm from McAllen, Texas.
Okay. And?
Can you hear me?
I can. Here he goes.
Awesome. I'm just Doge. Or at least before Elon Musk went crazy.
What? You cut out. I couldn't understand what you said. What about Doge?
Oh, so I'm just curious on your stance on Doge, like pre-Elon going crazy.
They did great work.
Really?
Yes. They found out all kinds of government waste and thievery that was going on.
That's awesome. how do you feel about it post Elon going crazy?
What has he done that's crazy? I mean, I know he put those crazy posts on X about Epstein and stuff. I didn't like that. I was upset with him.
Yeah, that was strange.
Yes.
I was just curious if that had changed your opinion at all.
Of what?
Just him and his work in the government.
No, everything he did was good. He just had a break from reality that he seems to regret.
That's fair, yeah. I have another question.
Oh, here goes the good one.
If that's okay.
Okay, I'm sure you saved the best for last.
Have you read the Big Beautiful Bill?
No.
Did you know it adds $2 to $4 trillion of debt spending?
I've heard that, but I don't know I don't know that that's true. I've heard people say that. I've heard the president say the opposite is true. So I'm always gonna side with what President Trump says.
No, I understand. I totally understand that. I do encourage you to go read the actual bill.
I don't have time. I don't have time to read. How many thousands of pages is it?
I think I have the section bookmarked, and I think you can go look for it if you want.
No, I'm not interested in that. I'll just wait for the president to tell us what's in it. There's no way I'm going to read that. There's no way.
Well, I mean, it would just take 5 minutes. I could just tell you what page and what section.
Okay.
You want me to?
Yeah, tell me the page and section.
1 second, I gotta pull.
And then tell me what it says about the deficit spending. Why don't you just read it to me? Read me that section, some of it. Yes. Did you find it?
Sorry, I'm still having to pull it up. My phone is very slow.
Just like
By the way, I would like to make it clear I am pro-Trump.
I didn't say you weren't. What does it say? It says that they're going to increase deficit spending. That's actually in the bill. We're going to increase deficit spending by this much. They put that in the bill.
That it allows Trump to spend more on like the military. But not necessarily that
I doubt that it says. Okay, I doubt it says we're going to increase deficit spending by an X amount. See, there's an old.
It doesn't say that.
There's an old. Okay, there's an old saying. There's an old saying. You probably have not heard this before. Maybe you have, but you probably haven't. Figures don't lie, but liars can figure. So anytime you take a big economic package, like the Big Beautiful Bill, you can do all kinds of funny calculations to make it say anything you want. So when I've heard President Trump and multiple people from his administration, including the Treasury Secretary, say, in fact, it cuts spending, doesn't add to it. That doesn't mean they didn't increase the budget on a particular agency like the military or something, but they've all said that that's not true, that that's a liberal lie. So I'm going to go with them. Listen, I'm going to run, but I appreciate the call and welcome to the show, all right? Take care. All right, guys, listen, thanks for watching. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, okay? I'm Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Talk to you later. Take care.